Imagine yourself plummeting through the endless void of a frozen abyss, where the ice beneath your feet cracks like thunder, revealing a glowing chasm that pulses with an otherworldly rhythm. It's not just the cold that grips you, it's the whisper of something ancient and alive, calling from depths no human was meant to disturb. What if, right now, in this very moment, signals are erupting from beneath Antarctica's impenetrable ice, defying every law of physics we hold sacred? Signals that scientists at the Ice Cube Neutrino Observatory detected just months ago. In 2025, rhythmic bursts originating from impossible angles, as if the Earth itself is harboring a secret intelligence, waiting to awaken. These aren't random echoes of cosmic debris. They're deliberate, almost musical, challenging our understanding of reality, and begging the question, who or what is sending them? And why now, as the ice thins and the world watches in hushed denial? These anomalous radio pulses, reported by Penn State University and echoed across headlines from CNN to phys.org, have left experts baffled. Flying high above the Antarctic expanse, instruments captured waves emerging from below the ice sheet, signals that shouldn't exist according to the standard model of particle physics. For over a decade, experiments like Anita have picked up similar enigmas, high-energy particles bending through dimensions we can't yet measure, originating from the Wilkes Basin, a subglacial valley twice the size of California. But in 2025, the intensity has surged, with bursts clustering near coordinates long deemed off-limits. Seismic tremors accompany them, faint vibrations that ripple through the frozen ground, hinting at subterranean activity not born of natural geology. Could these be communications from a hidden realm, or the activation of buried technology stirring as the glaciers retreat? The scientific community offers tentative explanations: dark matter decay, geothermal vents, but the patterns feel too intentional, too alive, to dismiss as mere anomalies. What if they're a warning, a beacon from a forgotten era, or worse, a summons we dare not answer? This frozen continent, larger than Europe and cloaked in perpetual mystery, has always guarded its secrets with an iron fist. The Antarctic Treaty of 1959, signed by 12 nations and now upheld by over 50, paints a picture of peaceful scientific collaboration. Yet, beneath that facade lies a web of restrictions that scream of something far more sinister. No-fly zones stretch across vast regions, particularly near Lake Vostok and the Wilkes Basin, where even seasoned researchers must navigate bureaucratic labyrinths for access. Independent explorers? Forbidden. Drones? Banned outright, under the guise of environmental protection. But why? Satellite images from these areas often glitch, with magnetometers twitching erratically, as if an invisible force interferes with our prying eyes. Recent leaks on platforms like X reveal blackouts in commercial mapping services, coordinates scrubbed clean, while others show sharp, dome-shaped anomalies, structures too precise to be natural bedrock. One such spot, at 66 degrees 16 minutes 24.5 seconds south, 100 degrees 59 minutes 3.5 seconds east, harbors a disc-shaped metallic object frozen in the ice, visible on some maps but erased from others. Is this censorship a coincidence, or a deliberate veil drawn by those who know what's truly at stake? The allure of these banned coordinates pulls at the threads of history's greatest enigmas. Buried beneath 2.5 miles of ice at Lake Vostok, a massive magnetic anomaly was detected in the late 1990s, a dome-like structure emitting heat in a place that should be eternally cold. Russian drilling teams went silent for days during their expeditions, resurfacing with vague reports and no samples to share. Whispers from insiders suggest they encountered something structured, perhaps mechanical, that defied explanation. Theories swirl. A pre-Ice Age artifact from a civilization that flourished when Antarctica was green and fertile, 90 million years ago. Or a non-human craft, anchored there for millennia, its systems now humming to life amid the thaw. Online discussions on X paint even darker pictures: dimensional interfaces, portals bridging realms, guarded by international powers to prevent a breach that could unravel our reality. These aren't wild fantasies. They're echoed in declassified files, hinting at archaeological anomalies that halted surveys without a trace. The treaty's no-fly zones aren't about preserving penguins, they're about containing knowledge that could upend global power structures. As we delve deeper into this icy labyrinth, the questions multiply like shadows in the polar night. What if the concentric rings depicted in suppressed maps, like the one shared by users on X showing lands beyond an ice wall, represent true Earth domains separated by massive ridges? Ancient texts and modern leaks alike speak of outer continents, Mu, Asgard, Horus, preserved from cataclysms like the Younger Dryas 12,800 years ago. These maps, scrubbed from public view under UN resolutions, suggest Antarctica isn't an isolated wasteland, but a gateway to vast, fertile expanses dwarfing our known world. The irradiated wastes, scorched plains, and abyssal oceans described in these charts bear scars of ancient conflicts, nuclear plasma wars, or orbital strikes that echo biblical tales of fallen angels and skyfire. And now, with the ice losing 136 billion tons annually, these secrets are surfacing, forcing a reckoning. Governments pour billions into research programs, but contractors and elites profit from covert operations, harvesting geothermal power, or reverse engineering forbidden tech while feeding us postcards of pristine wilderness. It's in moments like these, as the chill of discovery settles over us, that I feel compelled to pause and connect with you, dear listeners. Good evening, or perhaps good night, depending on where you are in the world right now. I am Mr. H, your humble guide through the shadows of the past and the enigmas of the present on Mystery History for Sleep. If these tales of forbidden coordinates and pulsing signals have ignited a spark of curiosity in your mind, just as they do in mine every time I unravel them, then I invite you to join our growing family of explorers. Consider subscribing to the channel. It's a simple way to ensure you never miss a whisper from the unknown. And if you'd like a gentle reminder when new episodes emerge from the depths, turn on that notification bell. It'll be our quiet signal in the night, pulling you back into these relaxing journeys. Now, with that shared connection warming us against the Antarctic cold, let's continue our descent into the heart of this mystery, where each layer of ice peeled away reveals a truth more profound than the last. The human cost of these secrets adds a haunting dimension to the allure. Explorers vanishing near the Byrd Glacier, their journals filled with sketches of green shadows and ghost forests that bleed into the present. In 2025, a geologist disappeared after photographing metallic runes in a melting crevasse, their camera recovered with images that defy logic, glowing symbols aligning with constellations visible only from the southern hemisphere. These incidents, often dismissed as disorientation or storms, cluster around the banned zones, suggesting a deliberate force at play. Whispers from McMurdo Station speak of temporal echoes, moments where the past intrudes, as if the anomalies bend time itself. Admiral Richard Byrd's 1947 Operation Highjump fleet encountered similar disturbances, unexplained radio interference, flying discs emerging from the ice, and a lush valley beyond the pole that shouldn't exist. His suppressed diary describes meetings with advanced beings warning of nuclear folly, a tale buried to preserve the status quo. Could these banned coordinates mark entrances to Agartha, the inner Earth realm of myth, where civilizations thrive untouched by our surface wars? The global cover-up extends beyond borders, uniting unlikely allies in a pact of silence. Why do nations that clash elsewhere collaborate here? The answer lies in the prize. Untapped resources that could shatter economies, oil, gas, rare minerals, and technologies that promise dominion over reality. Fringe theories on X link these to extraterrestrial pacts, agreements forged in the 1950s where elites traded secrets for power. Channeled messages from users like Kabamur Tegeta describe Galactic Federation bases beneath the ice, cloning facilities and interdimensional hubs monitored from afar. These aren't baseless claims. They align with declassified reports of non-human biologics from polar crashes and heat signatures defying natural explanations. As the Thwaites Glacier, dubbed the Doomsday Glacier, succumbs to warmer currents, penetrating deeper than ever before, the veil thins. Satellite anomalies in 2025 reveal grid-like patterns in the bedrock, too symmetrical for erosion, hinting at canals or foundations from a lost epoch. Yet, amid this web of intrigue, a deeper allure emerges: the promise of enlightenment. What if these band coordinates hold the key to humanity's origins? A cradle of ancient wisdom seeded by survivors of Atlantis or visitors from the stars. The Piri Reis map of 1513, depicting an ice-free Antarctica with bays and rivers matching modern seismic scans, suggests knowledge from a warmer era, perhaps 12,000 years ago before the cataclysm. Emerging hieroglyphs in 2025, filmed by anonymous explorers, blend Egyptian motifs with celestial diagrams, as if charting portals or machines. These carvings, weathered yet precise, add layers to the mystery. Were they left as warnings or invitations for those brave enough to seek? The Black Ice Crater, dated to the Younger Dryas, bears isotopic scars of an event that reshaped the world: comet impact or ancient weapon, its smooth walls too perfect for chance. As we stand on the precipice of these revelations, the band coordinates beckon like magnetic poles, drawing us into a narrative where science and myth converge. The signals coming from the abyss are more than just data points. They're echoes of a forgotten symphony, urging us to listen closer. Invasive species creeping into once pristine ecosystems signal a transformation, but so too do the thawing rivers carrying pollen from lost forests. Governments cite preservation, but the restrictions smell of fear of what we might uncover if allowed to wander freely. Pyramids in the Ellsworth Mountains, their symmetries echoing Giza, whisper of shared ancient blueprints, while subglacial canyons, 332 in number, carve paths to hidden worlds teeming with alien-like life. As the signals grow louder and the coordinates call, one can't help but wonder, are we ready for what's beneath, or will the truth, once revealed, freeze us in eternal awe? Deep in the Wilkes Basin, where the Antarctic ice sheet plunges into a subglacial void twice the size of California, something stirs. It's not the groan of shifting glaciers or the distant rumble of seismic activity. It's a series of rhythmic radio pulses emerging from angles that mock our grasp of particle physics. Instruments soaring miles above the frozen expanse, these signals defy the expected paths of cosmic neutrinos, those elusive ghosts of the universe. Instead of cascading down from the stars, they seem to rise upward, piercing through rock and ice from depths we can scarcely fathom. The Antarctic Impulsive Transient Antenna, or ANITA, captured them first: short bursts of radio waves at steep angles, 30 degrees below the horizon, traveling in ways that should scatter and fade, yet they arrive sharp and insistent, as if driven by purpose. These anomalies aren't isolated whispers. They're part of a pattern that has puzzled physicists for nearly a decade. Their frequency and clarity have escalated, turning a scientific curiosity into a profound enigma. Reports from Penn State University detail how ANITA, lofted on high-altitude balloons, recorded these upside-down signals during flights in 2016 and 2018, with fresh detections confirming the trend. The waves mimic the signature of tau neutrinos interacting with the ice, creating showers of particles that emit radio bursts, but the geometry is all wrong. Neutrinos from space should strike from above, not erupt from below like echoes from a buried chamber. As Stephanie Wissel, an astrophysicist at Penn State, noted in recent analyses, these pulses lack the polarity inversion expected from reflected cosmic ray showers, suggesting they're not mere echoes or glitches. There's something else entirely, perhaps a hint of exotic particles beyond the standard model, or interactions we haven't yet conceived. Venturing further into this puzzle, consider the Pierre Auger Observatory in Argentina. This vast array, spanning thousands of square miles, scans for high-energy cosmic rays and their byproducts. A collaborative study published in Physical Review Letters examined whether these anomalous events could stem from ultra-high-energy cosmic rays glancing off the ice at improbable angles. The results? No matches. The observatory's data showed no upward-traveling air showers that could explain ANITA's detections, ruling out one leading hypothesis. Instead, the signals persist as outliers, their origins tied to the Wilkes Basin's unique geology, a massive impact scar from 250 million years ago, laced with metallic residues that warp magnetic fields. Satellites overhead stutter here, their telemetry disrupted by unexplained blackouts, as if an electromagnetic veil cloaks the area. European Space Agency logs report transient failures in navigation systems, with star trackers misaligning for seconds before recovery. hinting at interference from below. What elevates this from scientific anomaly to tantalizing mystery is the convergence with newly mapped features beneath the ice. In August of 2025, oceanographers unveiled details of 332 submarine canyons carving through the Antarctic seafloor, some plunging 4,000 meters deep. These chasms, detailed in Science Daily reports, connect the ocean's warm currents to subglacial lakes like Vostok and Mercer, accelerating melt from below. But imagine these canyons as more than geological scars, perhaps conduits for ancient energies or hidden structures. Radar surveys reveal unusual densities in the bedrock, grid-like patterns that echo artificial designs rather than random erosion. Could these pulses be leaking from submerged complexes, awakened by the encroaching warmth? The canyons funnel nutrients and heat, sustaining ecosystems of extremophile microbes with DNA sequences that border on the alien, as if bioengineered for impossible conditions. Samples from Lake Mercer showed organisms thriving without sunlight, their metallic traces suggesting adaptations or interventions beyond natural evolution. Framing these signals as awakening technology opens doors to even wilder speculations. On platforms like X, users like Kabamur Tegeta have shared channeled messages claiming the pulses are transmissions from Pleiadian entities, extraterrestrial beings monitoring humanity from bases beneath the ice. These posts describe the signals as harmonic codes, aligning with galactic frequencies to signal a shift in consciousness. While dismissed by mainstream science, the rhythmic quality of the waves almost musical, as one researcher anonymously described, lends credence to such ideas. Videos circulating on YouTube, like those from the Unknown Files, analyze the detections, overlaying waveforms that match ancient sound patterns from Sumerian cuneiform or Tibetan chants. What if these aren't random bursts but deliberate communications, echoing through the canyons like a symphony from a lost epoch? Conspiracy threads weave deeper intrigue, linking the signals to blackouts in satellite data that plague the Wilkes Basin. Declassified military reports from the 1970s mention similar interference during early surveys, with equipment frying amid unexplained static. These blackouts have intensified, coinciding with seismic tremors too faint for earthquakes, but persistent enough to suggest subterranean machinery. Some theorists point to Nazi remnants from the 1938 expedition to Neuschwabenland, where Base 211 allegedly housed experimental devices like Die Glock, a bell-shaped contraption said to manipulate electromagnetic fields. Post-war rumors claim U-boats ferried technology here, powering hidden outposts with Vril energy drawn from the Earth's core. Could the pulses be remnants of these experiments, reactivated by the melting ice? X-posts from users like Chaos Actual 2025 tie them to quark-gluon plasma dynamics, suggesting high-energy collisions beneath the ice, mimic conditions in particle accelerators, perhaps testing forbidden physics. Yet, the Enigma grows with ties to astrobiology. The signal's high-energy profiles resemble those theorized for life on icy moons like Europa, where subsurface oceans might harbor intelligent forms. NASA's planned PUEO mission, a successor to ANITA, aims to fly over Antarctica for a month, equipped with enhanced sensitivity to probe these pulses. Lead scientists express excitement, but also caution. The wave's upward trajectory implies sources deep within the Earth, challenging not just physics, but our planetary model. Hollow Earth proponents seize on this, citing Admiral Byrd's alleged diary from 1947, where he described a lush inner world with advanced beings emitting guiding signals. While Byrd's accounts remain unverified, the 2025 data echoes his tale's pulses that respond to external probes, as if interactive. Delving into the human element adds a layer of unease. Researchers at McMurdo Station report auditory hallucinations near the basin, low hums that induce disorientation or euphoria, vanishing when stepping away. In July of 2025, a team chasing the signals abandoned their camp, their journals noting voices in the ice that shifted readings. Official explanations cite storms, but leaks suggest magnetic anomalies pulsing in sync with the waves, perhaps biofeedback from an unknown source. These experiences mirror older vanishings, 1950s, Soviet teams lost near Vostok, their records sealed under the Antarctic Treaty. What if the pulses aren't mere data but a form of intelligence, probing us as we probe them? As the signals persist, their implications ripple outward. Climate models predict accelerated melt in the basin, with canyons channeling warmer waters to erode the ice from within. This could unearth whatever generates the pulses, natural vents, ancient artifacts, or engineered emitters. Fringe analyses on X, like those from Amaravati, speculate the waves form spirals akin to crop circles, codes for activation. Videos from Wisticles highlight their recurrence, 26, 2014, and now 2025, suggesting cycles tied to solar activity or cosmic alignments. In this evolving enigma, the pulses from the abyss challenge our boundaries of knowledge. They whisper of hidden worlds, whether geological marvels, extraterrestrial outposts, or echoes of a pre-human era. As PUEO prepares to soar, the basin waits, its secrets throbbing beneath the ice, inviting us to listen closer. What stories do these rhythms tell, and are we ready to hear them? The Wilkes Basin holds its breath, its mysteries unfolding one burst at a time, drawing us into a narrative where the unknown pulses with life. As you ponder these signals tonight, where are you tuning in from? Perhaps a quiet corner in Paris, or a late evening in Sydney. Drop a note with your city and the hour, and let's see where these Antarctic whispers are resonating across the globe. Picture this: a set of coordinates etched into a classified document, 66 degrees south, 100 degrees east, pointing to a spot in the Wilkes Basin, where the ice seems to part like a curtain, revealing what some call a doorway to oblivion. Not a metaphorical one, but a literal anomaly, sharp edges cutting through the snow, captured in blurry satellite feeds that governments rush to blur further. This isn't the stuff of old explorers' logs. It's 2025, and these restricted zones are spilling their secrets faster than the melting glaciers can hide them. Leaked X posts from users like Glass Almanac describe 400-meter-long structures lurking beneath the ice, elongated forms that defy natural geology, sparking debates about ancient ruins or concealed installations. These aren't vague shadows. They're precise, measured anomalies, stretching like forgotten highways under the frozen crust, detected by radar sweeps that glitch inexplicably over the area. Venturing into the Beardmore Glacier region, another forbidden pinpoint emerges, 72 degrees south, 168 degrees east. Here, fossils of ancient forests push through the thaw, petrified skulls and tools from 3 million years back, but brings fresher revelations. A face-like structure, 841 meters long, stares back from the ice, its contours too humanoid to dismiss as wind-sculpted rock. UFO enthusiasts on X swarm the coordinates, posting images of this eerie formation, speculating it's a marker left by pre-human visitors or a camouflaged entrance to subterranean labs. The Antarctic Treaty labels these spots as specially protected areas, citing fragile ecosystems, but the restrictions feel heavier: drones banned, overflights rerouted, and ground teams escorted under watchful eyes. Why guard a glacier that's already yielding up its dead? Perhaps because the fossils mingle with metallic traces, isotopes that don't match Earth's baseline, hinting at interventions from epochs when Antarctica bloomed green. Shift your gaze to the Ellsworth Mountains, where pyramid-like peaks rise in symmetries that echo Egypt's Giza. But at coordinates 79 degrees south, 85 degrees west, something stranger looms. The satellite scans, shared in hushed online forums, reveal a 400-meter anomaly nearby, a linear structure buried deep, its outline crisp against the surrounding chaos of crevasses. Glass Almanac's leaks describe it as a potential base, elongated and artificial, tying into whispers of Nazi holdouts from the 1930s. These mountains, restricted under the treaty's no-fly edicts, have long fueled tales of hidden gateways. Recent YouTube videos dissect a mystery doorway cracked open in the ice, a rectangular void spotted on Google Maps just southeast of Showa Station, measuring meters wide and tall enough for a vehicle. First post articles dub it an entrance to underground realms, with theories ranging from Bigfoot lairs to elite bunkers. Skeptics call it a crevasse illusion, but the coordinates match seismic hotspots where tremors ripple without tectonic cause, as if something mechanical hums below. These doorways aren't isolated curiosities. They're threaded through a network of banned zones that the Antarctic Treaty System enforces with ironclad precision. Established in 1959, the treaty designates over 80 Antarctic specially protected areas, ASPAs, where entry requires permits and activities are curtailed to preserve outstanding environmental, scientific, historic, aesthetic, or wilderness values. New discoveries challenge that narrative. After the A-84 iceberg detached in January, Schmidt Ocean Institute's expeditions uncovered thriving ecosystems in the Bellingshausen Sea, ancient sponges, corals, and sea spiders flourishing where ice once smothered the seafloor. This area, previously restricted, now reveals vibrant life at 1,300 meters deep, including icefish and octopuses that hint at undisturbed refuges. Yet, access remains gated, with the treaty's veil suggesting more than biodiversity at stake, perhaps artifacts or anomalies that could rewrite history. Imagine piecing together a puzzle where each restricted coordinate is a fragment, the Wilkes Basin's magnetic glitches, linking to the Beardmore's ancient relics, and both feeding into the Ellsworth's pyramids. X leaks, like those from Chaos Actual, describe seismic tremors as leaks from the abyss, faint vibrations clustering around these sites without volcanic ties. No official reports confirm, but declassified snippets from the Australian Antarctic program mention heritage management plans for Mawson's huts, subtly expanding protections amid new findings. Could these be cover for unearthing structured anomalies? A CNN piece on ocean water penetrating the Thwaites Glacier reveals cavities kilometers deep, allowing warmer currents to seep in and accelerate melt, exposing bedrock grids that look engineered. These doomsday dynamics aren't just climatic, they align with forbidden gateways, where melting unveils doorways like the one near Showa, sparking NDTV headlines about massive doors, igniting theories of Nazi bases or extraterrestrial vaults. The conspiracy lens sharpens the intrigue, why 16 areas restricted back in 1985, per old New York Times reports, now ballooned into a labyrinth of no-go zones. Quora threads dissect them as shields for elite operations, from resource hoarding to reverse engineering alien tech. Phys.org highlights scientists' ongoing quests, but access denials persist, fueling speculation that ASPAs conceal dimensional rifts, or Agartha entrances the mythical inner earth. Tom Sieg's X-threads weave speculative histories, proposing Younger Dryas comet impacts nudged Antarctica into habitability windows, leaving fjord networks as Atlantean outposts. These ideas aren't fringe outliers, they echo Plato's descriptions, with Azores as mid-ocean sentinels guarding southern secrets. Human encounters add visceral tension to these zones, expeditions pivoting after iceberg carvings, like the Falkor, 2's dive, stumble upon octopus lairs and giant sea spiders, but whispers from crew hint at glowing voids in the depths, doorways perhaps, where light bends unnaturally. Earlier, in 2024, Yahoo News reported a Google Maps doorway sparking global buzz, with MSN amplifying shocked reactions to its eerie precision. Instagram reels from Nunchaku's Dragon go viral, showing massive mountainside doors discovered in August 2025, coordinates pinned for armchair explorers. These aren't hoaxes. They match UFO Mania's posts on face structures, suggesting a pattern of humanoid imprints across restricted landscapes. Framing these as forbidden gateways unlocks layers of possibility. Ties to Agartha posit them as portals, where seismic tremors act as keys vibrations detected. ESA images of Ross Ice Shelf, showing melt patterns around sharp features. Conspiracy hubs like Reddit argue the treaty prevents public breaches, with leaks indicating activity. Faint lights, unexplained quakes like the M7.5 in Drake Passage. British Antarctic Survey explains the treaty's ethos, but trending ships like Polarmax hint at militarized access, building icebreakers for collaboration that feels like preparation. As melt accelerates, these zones evolve from static bands to dynamic revelations. Sociomemo's videos on seafloor canyons and a 23A iceberg breakup underscore how warming exposes secrets, with Guardian articles mapping impacts. Poseidon Expeditions lists top discoveries, from Weddell Seal's Sixth Sense to ancient volcanoes resembling sci-fi fortresses. Yet, restrictions tighten, per Legal Clarity's breakdowns, safeguarding not just wildlife but potentially paradigm-shifting finds. In this mosaic of bans and breakthroughs, curiosity builds. What lies beyond these thresholds? Ancient civilizations' echoes, extraterrestrial beacons, or mirrors to our own hidden potentials? The coordinates whisper invitations, seismic tremors their rhythm, doorways their promise, drawing us toward truths the ice can no longer conceal. High above the jagged peaks of the Ellsworth Mountains, where the Antarctic winds howl like forgotten echoes, a shimmering disk sliced through the polar twilight in January of 2025. Witnesses from a research outpost near the coordinates 79 degrees south, 85 degrees west, described it not as a fleeting illusion, but a deliberate maneuver hovering silently before vanishing into a crevasse that seemed to swallow the light itself. This wasn't an isolated incident. It mirrored a wave of sightings flooding social media and leaked reports that year, from egg-shaped craft emerging from ice caves to massive faces etched into the snow, as if the continent's frozen veil was cracking under the weight of revelations. Daily Mail articles buzzed with Google Maps users spotting a round UFO entity tucked under a cliff 90 miles from the coast, its metallic sheen defying the barren landscape. Irish Star headlines screamed of a huge alien discovered in the ice, sending social media into a frenzy with images of a colossal humanoid form peering from the snow. These weren't amateur hoaxes. They aligned with WikiLeaks dumps in August, exposing classified memos hinting at UFO evidence buried in Antarctica's depths. Tracing back through the frost of time, these modern encounters echo the chaos of Operation Highjump in 1946-47, when Admiral Richard Byrd led a massive naval armada, 13 ships, dozens of aircraft, and over 4,000 men into the southern unknown. Officially a mapping expedition, the mission's abrupt end after unexplained losses fueled decades of speculation. Leaked logs, resurfacing in YouTube analyses like those from The Proof Is Out There, describe pilots radioing tales of disc-shaped objects streaking from the ice, performing impossible turns that crippled American planes with energy bursts. Byrd's purported diary, dismissed yet persistent in online archives, recounts a flight into a temperate valley where advanced beings in gleaming craft warned of humanity's destructive path. Posts from users like Obolus, one in July 2025, tie this to a 19-year-old pilot arrested for overflying restricted zones, questioning if the ensuing UFO headlines were distractions from deeper truths. Delve into the Nazi shadows that precede Byrd, and the plot thickens. In 1938, the Third Reich's Schwabenland expedition claimed Neuschwabenland, dropping swastika markers over Queen Maud Land. Beyond whaling pretexts, theories abound of Base 211, a subterranean fortress harnessing Vril energy for anti-gravity propulsion. Brad Olson's discussions on Vibewire detail how these bases allegedly housed Haunebu saucers, bell-shaped wonders blending mercury vortex engines with occult tech. Threads from Kabamur Tegeta amplify this, claiming alien tech transmitters are melting the ice to reveal Pleiadian bases, with channeled messages describing non-human entities monitoring subglacial zones. These aren't baseless rants. They connect to Facebook groups like Ancient Astronaut Theorists, sharing explorer images of mysterious beings boarding UFOs during a May ice core survey in Queen Maud Land. Fast forward to the egg UFO frenzy that gripped headlines in January 2025. Newsweek reported anonymous photos flooding social media, depicting an oval craft discovered in an Antarctic ice cave back in 2022, but resurfacing with claims of an entity inside. Ex-user FlashTrue 54321 shared audio purportedly from a British Ministry of Defence interview with SEs, an alien collected from the egg UFO, sparking calls to number free alien says. Reddit threads like r/UFOB questioned the entity's fate, with users noting the video's Antarctic misspelling and January upload, fueling debates on authenticity. This ties into global UAP disclosures that year, where heat signatures from unknown crafts over forbidden skies linked to Pentagon briefings, suggesting extraterrestrial surveillance amid Antarctica's rapid thaw. Consider the forbidden skies themselves, vast no-fly zones, enforced by the Antarctic Treaty, where drones vanish and pilots report instrument failures. Medium articles explored strange lights in the polar night, unattributable to auroras or aircraft, moving with intelligence across restricted quadrants. YouTube channels like History revisited ancient aliens theories, spotlighting top 3 alien mysteries of summer 2025, including UFOs over Antarctica. Ex-user Vibewire Central posted about Antarctica as the forbidden continent holding Earth's true history, linking UFOs to ancient non-human civilizations. These sightings aren't random, they cluster near subglacial anomalies, where channeled info from 2 Pole on X posits Galactic Federation ties, cloning facilities hidden under the ice. Peering through the lens of witnesses adds raw urgency. A pilot's arrest for breaching Antarctic airspace. As per Obolus, one's posts coincided with a surge in sightings, perhaps a diversionary tactic. Earlier leaks from Secure UK 2025 on X referenced massive UFO bases, echoing redacted interviews with Clayton Morris. Appalachian Schizo's threads shared presumed fake US documents from the Highjump scandal, detailing anti-UFO briefs in 1953. These narratives converge on alien tech, transmitters melting ice, as Kabamur, Tegeta claims, to expose bases. The tech angle tantalizes further. Theories posit these crafts use zero-point energy, drawing from the vacuum, explaining silent hovers over forbidden zones. Ex-user Nordic Atlantean mused on German refugees, aliens, or Yetis in 2025 posts. Buzz Aldrin's 2016 heart attack after Antarctic visits, tied by 2HEOHEHEOHEOP to ancient structures, suggests encounters with non-human intelligence. Common sense. Sensei's calls for enlightenment listed UFOs alongside Antarctica facilities. As sightings proliferate, questions linger. Are these monitors from Andromeda, as Secure UK 2025 implies, or remnants of Nazi alien pacts? The skies over Antarctica, once silent sentinels, now pulse with activity, drawing eyes to what lies below. Each disk, each light, peels back layers of deception, inviting speculation on humanity's place in a cosmos far vaster than our maps allow. What if these forbidden skies are battlegrounds, where alien tech clashes with earthly secrets, and the next sighting heralds disclosure or doom? In the dim glow of a Munich library in 1918, a group of occultists gathered under the banner of the Thule Society, their eyes fixed on ancient Nordic runes that promise secrets of a master race. Named after the mythical northern land of Thule, this esoteric circle wasn't content with dusty tomes. They sought tangible power, weaving pseudoscience with Aryan mythology to fuel a vision of supremacy. By the 1930s, their influence had seeped into the Nazi elite, shaping expeditions that reached for the ends of the earth literally. Adolf Hitler, swayed by Thule's whispers of polar gateways to hidden realms, dispatched teams to Antarctica, not for conquest alone, but to unearth forbidden technologies that could bend reality itself. What began as a quest for ancestral roots evolved into something far darker: the establishment of Base 211, a subterranean fortress in Neuschwabenland, where the line between myth and machinery blurred. Picture the MS Schwabenland slicing through icy waves in 1938, its decks laden with scientists, engineers, and SS officers handpicked for their loyalty to the Reich's occult underbelly. Officially, the mission claimed vast swaths of Queen Maud land for whaling rights, dropping swastika flags from seaplanes to mark the territory. But beneath that facade lay a deeper agenda. Thule Society doctrines, rooted in Helena Blavatsky's Theosophy and Guido von List's Ariosophy, posited Antarctica as a remnant of Hyperborea, the ancient Aryan homeland frozen in time. Expeditions logs, later partially declassified, describe surveys of geothermal vents and cavern systems, ideal for sustaining hidden outposts. Crew members whispered of vril energy, a supposed life force harnessed from the Earth's core, capable of powering anti-gravity devices. This wasn't mere fantasy. Prototypes like the Repulsine engine, developed by Victor Schauberger under Nazi patronage, aimed to manipulate vortex forces for propulsion, drawing on Thule's belief in cosmic harmonies. As the war raged, these Antarctic footholds took on new urgency. By 1944, with Allied bombs raining on Berlin, high-ranking Nazis allegedly funneled resources south. U-boats, U-530 and U-977, surfaced off Argentina, months after surrender, their captains evasive about southern voyages. Conspiracy circles suggest they ferried blueprints, gold, and even Hitler himself to Base 211. a network of geothermal heated caverns expanded into a self-sufficient redoubt. Ernst Zundel's writings in the 70s painted it as a saucer factory, producing Honebu disks, bell-shaped craft blending mercury plasma with electromagnetic fields. These machines, inspired by Thule's occult texts like the Vril Ya from Edward Bulwer Lytton's novels, were said to achieve speeds defying physics, vanishing into polar mists. Fast forward to the present chill of 2025, and seismic data from the Wilkes Basin region near Neuschwabenland's claimed coordinates reveals unnatural formations. Ground-penetrating radar, shared in niche geology forums, shows cavities too symmetrical for volcanic erosion, stretching miles underground. These aren't random voids. They align with thermal anomalies, pockets of warmth, sustaining potential habitats or installations. Vocal media articles speculate these could be echoes of Base 211, expanded over decades with reverse-engineered tech. Imagine tunnels lined with reinforced concrete, geothermal turbines humming eternally, powering labs where Reich scientists pursued immortality through cryogenic experiments or genetic tampering. The Thule obsession with Aryan purity might have morphed into cloning programs, blending human DNA with supposed ancient bloodlines preserved in ice. What fuels the enduring fascination is how Thule's ideology intertwined with tangible engineering feats. The Society's founders, like Rudolf von Sebottendorf, drew from Eastern mysticism and Germanic folklore, envisioning Antarctica as a polar axis, Mundi, a cosmic pivot where ley lines converged. This belief drove the Ahnenerbe, the Nazi Ancestral Research Bureau, to seek artifacts like the Holy Grail or Atlantean crystals amid the ice. Expeditions uncovered fossils of temperate flora, interpreted as proof of a pre-flood paradise. In 2025, as glaciers retreat, similar finds surface. Pollen from extinct forests mingling with metallic shards that don't corrode, analyzed in underground labs. Could these be remnants of Thule-inspired devices, like the infamous Die Glocke, described in declassified interrogations of SS engineers? This bell-shaped apparatus allegedly created anti-gravity fields, glowing with ethereal light during tests in Silesia before relocation south. The post-war scramble adds layers of intrigue. Operation Paperclip spirited German scientists to America, but whispers persist of a southern exodus. Argentine archives hint at Peronen's regime sheltering Nazis, with submarine logs suggesting Antarctic supply runs. In 2025, X-leaks from anonymous sources depict seismic graphs spiking near restricted zones, patterns mimicking engine tests or energy discharges. These aren't natural quakes. They're rhythmic, as if synchronized with lunar cycles, Thule's astrological bent at play. Forums buzz with theories. Base 211 as a time capsule, preserving Reich elites in stasis, awaiting a signal to re-emerge. Or perhaps it's a hybrid outpost, where Nazi tech fused with extraterrestrial knowledge, per claims from channeled sessions linking Vril to Pleiadian sources. Delving into Thule's roots uncovers a web of obsession that feels eerily prescient. Founded amid post-World War I chaos, the Society hosted lectures on runes as power symbols, viewing Antarctica as the southern Thule, a mirror to the Arctic's mythical north. Hitler's inner circle, including Himmler and Hess, absorbed these ideas, funding polar probes to validate Aryan origins. The 1938 mission's success, mapping 600,000 square kilometers, paved the way for wartime evacuations. Survivors' tales, smuggled out via neutral channels, describe caverns aglow with bioluminescent fungi, sustaining greenhouses of engineered crops. In 2025, subglacial lake samples from nearby Mercer reveal microbes with accelerated growth rates, sparking debates on bioweapon legacies or Thule alchemical pursuits. The Die Glocke Enigma stands as Thule's crowning myth. Allegedly tested in the Owl Mountains, this device warped space-time, reducing objects to jelly or vanishing them entirely. Witnesses spoke of mercury vortices spinning at blinding speeds, drawing etheric energy. Relocated to Antarctica for secrecy, it might explain post-war sightings of Foo Fighters' glowing orbs dogging Allied planes. Similar phenomena resurface. Pilots over the Weddell Sea report orbs pulsing in formation, captured on dashcams and leaked to media. These could be modern iterations, powered by Base 211's descendants, guarding treaty-restricted skies. Yet, the human drama behind Thule's Antarctic fixation reveals a tragic hubris. Society members like Dietrich Eckart mentored Hitler, infusing his rhetoric with mystical fervor. As the Reich crumbled, this obsession turned desperate. U-boats laden with uranium for atomic pursuits rerouted south per Argentine declassifications. Seismic anomalies might trace to these stockpiles, unstable reactors buried deep, or perhaps they're signals from automated systems, Thule's legacy automated to outlast its creators. As melting accelerates, exposing riverbeds etched with unnatural grids, the question lingers. Did Thule uncover something primordial in Antarctica, a force they harnessed but couldn't control? Fossils mingle with machined parts in recent digs, per hushed reports from McMurdo. Base 211, if real, might not be a Nazi relic alone but a convergence point where occult dreams met alien realities. Thule's runes, carved into cavern walls, could be keys to unlocking Vril, now stirring as the ice thins. Each tremor, each anomaly, peels back Reich secrets, inviting us to ponder, what if Base 211 isn't abandoned, but evolved a silent guardian of forbidden knowledge, waiting for the right moment to reveal its power? The Antarctic silence holds its breath, its depths pulsing with echoes of a society that dared to touch the divine. As you linger on these mysteries tonight, perhaps from a quiet dusk in Melbourne or a late hour in Berlin, share your city and time in the comments. It's captivating to see where these tales resonate. If the allure of hidden histories pulls you deeper, our playlist, Lost Civilizations, dives into more ancient enigmas waiting to be explored. Good night. Unfurl the edges of a weathered gazelle skin, and there it lies before you. The Piri Reis map, its ink faded yet defiant, charting a world that shouldn't know its own contours. Compiled by the Ottoman Admiral Haji Ahmed Muhiddin Piri, this fragment captures the Atlantic coasts with a precision that startles Europe's jagged outline, Africa's sweeping bulge, the Americas emerging like a revelation. But it's the southern fringe that ensnares the eye. A sprawling landmass, ice-free and fertile, with bays, rivers, and mountains that align eerily with modern seismic profiles of Antarctica's bedrock. Piri himself annotated it as drawn from ancient sources, 20 in all, including charts from Alexander the Great's era and a lost work by Columbus. How did a 16th-century seafarer glimpse a continent locked in ice for millions of years? The map's southern edge, under ultraviolet scrutiny, reveals recycled vellum with traces of older pigments, as if overwritten from a palimpsest of erased histories. This isn't cartography. It's a whisper from a time when the world was warmer, wilder, and perhaps watched by eyes beyond our stars. As your gaze lingers on that enigmatic shore, the map pulls you southward, inviting a journey through layers of forgotten knowledge. Piri's sources hinted at forbidden charts smuggled from Alexandria's libraries or Byzantine vaults, fragments of a seafaring age predating the Ice Age. Glaciologists confirm Antarctica's sheet formed 34 million years ago, yet core samples yield pollen from temperate forests as recent as 12,000 years past, during the Younger Dryas, a sudden freeze that drowned coastal realms in cataclysmic floods. Could Piri's depiction stem from survivors of that upheaval, mapping a green Antarctica before the poles shifted? Theories swirl like polar mists, a crustal displacement, Earth's shell sliding over its core, dragging the continent into eternal winter. Graham Hancock's explorations in ancient apocalypse narratives posit this as the fate of Atlantis, Plato's advanced island empire vanishing 9,000 years before his time in earthquakes and deluges. Not in the Atlantic, but centered on a temperate Antarctic peninsula, its navigators seeding global cultures with star charts and geometric lore. Transition now to another relic, the Orontius Phineus map of 1531, a French mathematician's vision of Terra Australis that mirrors Piri's impossibility. Here, the southern continent sprawls with intricate detail, rivers snaking through verdant valleys, mountains rising in chains that match satellite elevations beneath the ice. Phineus claimed antiquities libraries as his wellspring, perhaps Ptolemaic scrolls or Phoenician logs. Charles Hapgood, in his 60s analyses, rotated the map to overlay it on modern Antarctica, revealing alignments too precise for coincidence, coastlines curving where seismic data shows submerged shelves, Critics argue it's a speculative terra incognita, pieced from rumors of southern lands. But the rivers? They echo subglacial flows detected by NASA's Reis satellites, hidden waterways pulsing with ancient momentum. Imagine ancient surveyors, their vessels hugging ice-free shores, etching these paths before a cosmic jolt, perhaps a comet swarm froze the paradise in stasis. This cartographic trail leads to Philippe Boach's 1737 atlas, where an unknown island northwest of Cuba emerges as a crescent anomaly, coordinates aligning with Bermuda Triangle vortices. Boach, a Royal Academy geographer, drew from maritime logs of vanishing currents and compass spins, marking a land that flickered at low tides. Spanish charts dubbed it Isla das Sombras, a shimmering edge at dusk, erased from later editions without fanfare. Submarine surveys in recent decades uncovered terraces 300 feet below, resembling a sunken acropolis with acoustic rhythms spiraling from the seafloor. Berlitz's Bermuda Triangle lore ties this to Atlantean crystals, electromagnetic fields warping reality. Boach's Island, like Piri's southern coast, vanishes from records as if scrubbed by hands, fearing the implications a network of phantom lands encoding warnings of unstable realms, where seas fold and time bends. Each map unfolds like a chapter in a suppressed epic, revealing lost civilizations not as myths but as echoes in ink. Consider the Antilia legend, haunting European portolans from the 14th century. A semicircular sanctuary of 7 cities, founded by bishops fleeing Moorish invasions. João Pisigano's 1424 chart inscribes it prominently, fueling Portuguese quests for its verdant hills and crystalline waters. By the 16th century, it fades, dismissed as maritime utility absent. Yet stone arches in Girona predating Columbus depict twin Atlantic islands, with open circle symbols veiled nods to Atlantis under disguise. Vatican archives allegedly hoard originals, suppressed to sever ties to pre-Christian wisdom. Illuminati theorists see ley lines in its coordinates, energetic grids erased to monopolize mystical conduits. These islands, like Piri's Antarctica, cluster along drowned shelves, oriented to solstices and stars, as if ancient architects etched the earth to preserve resonance amid ruin. The puzzle deepens with the Orontius Phineas chart's spirals, recurring motifs from Irish dolmens to Ethiopian obelisks, codes for Atlantean tech, perhaps sonic levitation, or harmonic navigation. Hancock links this to the Richat structure in Mauritania, a bullseye formation matching Plato's concentric rings, with satellite data unveiling ancient riverbeds. If Atlantis spanned from Africa to Antarctica, its fall scattered survivors, carrying ice-free maps through secret societies. The Piri Reis fragment glows faintly green under light, trace elements foreign to Ottoman inks, suggesting a palimpsest from even older vellum, perhaps Sumerian clay discs or Egyptian papyri charting polar paradises. As these maps interconnect, a tapestry of lost worlds emerges. Hyperborea in the north, Mu in the Pacific, all sunk by the same Younger Dryas deluge. The Boach maps unknown lands claw westward from Australia, mirroring Mesopotamian artifacts with identical curves, 6 millennia apart. Deutmann's 16th century chart described Terra Apis as curled shores visible under certain moons, scrubbed from British atlases by the 19th century. Nation-states transformed maps from curiosity canvases to control tools, expunging the unknown to enforce certainty. Why Terra Apis? Speculation paints it as a portal zone, seas folding like the Bermuda Triangle, dimensions overlapping to swallow the unwary. Erased to prevent explorers from tumbling into forbidden realities, these charts encode not borders but consciousness realms, where time loops and realities intersect. Hieroglyphs surfacing from Antarctic thaws add visceral proof. Anonymous footage shows carvings blending Egyptian ankhs with celestial alignments, geometric patterns suggesting star maps or machine blueprints near the Beardmore Glacier. Weathered edges imply centuries of burial, yet their motifs echo Piri's spirals guides for ancient tech, perhaps energy grids or propulsion systems. These aren't random etchings. They align with constellations southern only, calendars marking cataclysm cycles. As ice retreats, revealing Pine Island amber from lush eras, one wonders, are these Atlantean warnings or invitations to reclaim lost knowledge? The Phineas map's precision fuels debates on pre-Ice Age seafarers. Hapgood argued it proves surveys from warmer times, but rotations and distortions by critics can't fully debunk the river's matching buried features. YouTube dissections highlight its uncanny fit, tying to Tartaria, a supposed erased Eurasian empire. Maps purged to fabricate linear history. Bright Insight's analyses link it to Africa's Richat, Plato's bullseye with riverbeds, but extend to Antarctic grids emerging in satellite views too regular for nature, hinting at canals or foundations. These maps aren't errors. They're breadcrumbs to suppressed narratives, worlds within worlds, redacted to preserve power. Jesuit orders catalogued them during conquests, concealing spirals and eyes as encoded for initiates. Bermuda ties amplify the enigma. If islands are gateways, vanished craft slip into parallels, elites patching simulation breaches. The Piri race, with its Columbus source, suggests shared forbidden lore passed through admiralty circles. In this mosaic of ink and ice, the allure lies in the voids. What's omitted speaks loudest. Antarctica's ice-free shores on these charts challenge our timeline, positing civilizations that mapped the mutable vault beneath our feet. As thaws accelerate, subglacial rivers surge with pollen from lost forests. Will they unveil Atlantean ruins or starfaring relics? The maps beckon, their lines a grammar of cycles, urging us to trace the paths of those who saw the world unmasked. What secrets do they guard, and who erased them to keep us wandering in the dark? Beneath the unyielding crush of Antarctica's ice sheet, a world pulses in perpetual shadow, where liquid water defies the eternal freeze and carves hidden pathways through the dark. Imagine descending into this subglacial realm, not as an explorer with gear and lights, but as a silent observer, drifting through veins of meltwater that snake for thousands of kilometers, pooling into lakes larger than cities, their surfaces undisturbed for millennia. These aren't barren voids, they're cradles of enigma, where pressure and isolation forge life forms that challenge everything we assume about survival. Take Lake Vostok, sealed under 2 miles of ice. Its waters a pristine time capsule from 15 million years ago. When Russian teams pierced it, they found hints of microbial communities thriving in oxygen-rich depths, organisms that metabolize without sunlight, drawing energy from chemical whispers in the rock. But what if these microbes aren't mere survivors? What if their DNA strands hold sequences too complex, too efficient, suggesting a design not born of random evolution, but of something deliberate, perhaps seeded long before the ice claimed dominion? As you glide deeper, the scale unfolds. Over 700 subglacial lakes dot the continent, some active, swelling and draining, in cycles that ripple the ice above like a giant's breath. Mercer Lake, accessed in a daring drill operation, revealed ecosystems teeming with bacteria that glow faintly under analysis, their bioluminescence, a faint echo of life in impossible conditions. These hidden waters aren't static, they flow, connecting through a labyrinth of channels that amplify the ice sheet's melt from below. Warmer ocean currents seep in, eroding the foundations, and in this process, they expose anomalies, strange metallic traces in sediment cores, isotopes that don't match terrestrial baselines. Could these be relics of ancient intrusions, fragments from meteorites or something crafted? The lake's isolation makes them perfect vaults, preserving whatever fell or was placed there eons ago, untouched by surface chaos. Now, envision the canyons that feed this underworld. 332 colossal submarine chasms, newly catalogued, plunging up to 4,000 meters into the seafloor around the continent's margins. These aren't gentle valleys, they're dramatic scars, wider than the Grand Canyon in places, channeling deep ocean flows directly under the ice shelves. East Antarctica hosts the majority, their steep walls etched by ancient glacial surges, while the West's fewer but deeper ones funnel heat like arteries to a heart. As these canyons guide warmer waters inland, they accelerate the thaw, collapsing shelves like Larsen B in weeks. But peer closer. Sonar mappings show irregularities, smooth ledges midway down, as if engineered platforms, and sediment layers laced with organic compounds that hint at buried biospheres. What thrives in these abyssal trenches? Sea spiders the size of dinner plates, ice fish with antifreeze blood, and corals that glow in the perpetual night, sustained by nutrients swept from hidden vents. This subglacial tapestry weaves a narrative of resilience and riddle, where ecosystems mirror those theorized on distant moons like Europa or Enceladus. In Mercer's depths, microbes form mats that pulse with chemical energy, their communities structured like miniature cities, exchanging signals through biofilms. Vostok's samples, when cultured, exhibit growth rates defying nutrient scarcity, as if adapted to harness faint geothermal pulses. These hidden worlds aren't passive, they're dynamic, with lakes like those under Thwaites Glacier filling and bursting, sending floods that lubricate the ice's slide toward the sea. 27 active lakes catalogued beneath Thwaites alone, their melt rates spiking as canyons deliver warmer intrusions. Imagine the pressure, water compressed under gigatons of ice, yet flowing freely, carving new paths that could one day surface ancient secrets, fossilized remains of temperate forests mingling with unexplained alloys. The intrigue deepens when considering how these realms interact with the surface. Subglacial rivers, longer than the Amazon, surge beneath the ice, their flows detected by satellite altimetry as subtle swells. In the Ross Ice Shelf region, long-term changes show lakes expanding, their hydrology linking to global ocean currents. What if these connections aren't purely natural? Anomalies in magnetic readings over the canyons suggest metallic concentrations, perhaps asteroid debris from 250 million years back, but some patterns are too clustered, too regular. Whispers from research logs describe equipment malfunctions near these sites, drills stalling, signals jamming as if an electromagnetic presence guards the depths. Could bioengineered life lurk here? Experiments from shadowy programs seeding resilient strains to test survival in isolation? Ponder the canyon's role as gateways. Their mouths at the continental shelf swallow cold outflows while inhaling warmer eddies, creating upwellings that nourish bizarre life. Giant amphipods scuttle in the gloom, their exoskeletons iridescent under rare light probes, while anemones wave tentacles in currents laced with hydrothermal minerals. These ecosystems, hidden for eons, now face intrusion as ice retreats, but they hold clues to life's tenacity, organisms that regenerate from fragments or produce compounds mimicking alien biochemistry. In the Bellingshausen Sea, after a massive carving, expeditions uncovered thriving communities on exposed seafloor, sponges ancient, as the pyramids filtering nutrients from canyon-fed flows. What stories do these creatures encode in their genes? Sequences that parallel those on Mars analogues, or hints of horizontal gene transfer from unknown sources? As the narrative descends further, the lakes and canyons reveal a symbiotic dance with the ice above. Active lakes under East Antarctica, slowly moving yet pulsing with water exchanges, influence the sheet's stability. Evidence from radar shows them draining and refilling, causing surface dips that satellites track like breathing patterns. These fluctuations aren't random, they sync with tidal forces, as if the subglacial world responds to lunar pulls. Hidden beneath slowly moving coastal ice, these lakes harbor potential records, sedimentary layers preserving atmospheric gases from warmer eras, or microbial fossils that rewrite evolutionary timelines. But anomalies persist. In some cores, ash layers from unexplained eruptions, or pollen from plants extinct elsewhere, suggesting refugia, where life clung through cataclysms. The canyons amplify this mystery, their networks contrasting east and west, dense and intricate in the east, sparse but profound in the west. Mapping them unveils how they steer climate feedbacks, warmer intrusions melting from below, hastening sea level rise threefold beyond models. Yet, in their depths, hydrothermal vents spew minerals that foster chemosynthetic life, bacteria weaving energy from sulfur and iron, independent of the sunday. These oases mirror deep-sea trenches, but isolated longer, evolving unique adaptations glow-in-the-dark fungi analogues, or worms that burrow into rock, extracting secrets from the mantle. What if these subglacial domains conceal more than biology? Magnetic surveys over canyons detect deviations, pockets where compasses spin wildly, as if artificial fields interfere. Theories murmur of buried structures, energy sources powering hidden installations, or natural amplifiers for psychic phenomena. Lakes like those in Dronning Maudland, with hydrological dynamics shifting over decades, could mask entrances to vast cavities worlds where extremophiles guard ancient artifacts, their ecosystems bioengineered barriers, lakes swelling like hearts, canyons channeling fates, ecosystems thriving in defiance. As meltwater amplifies, threatening coastal realms, these hidden worlds beckon vaults of resilience, riddles of origin. What alien-like forms await in their depths, and what forgotten tales do they hold? The subglacial pulse quickens, inviting descent into shadows where life and mystery entwine. Signed in the crisp December air of 1959, the Antarctic Treaty emerged not as a mere diplomatic accord, but as a carefully woven shroud, draping the continent in layers of enforced silence. 12 nations gathered in Washington, their representatives inking a pact that, on the surface, promised peace and scientific harmony. No military bases, no nuclear tests, just collaborative exploration of a frozen frontier. Yet, peel back that first layer, and questions arise like frost from the ground. Why convene amid Cold War tensions, when superpowers eyed each other with suspicion elsewhere? The treaty's architects framed it as a beacon of cooperation, demilitarizing a land larger than Europe, but its clauses hid barbs, restrictions on access, closed-door committees deciding what science truly means. This wasn't protection, it was partition, carving Antarctica into zones where curiosity met checkpoints, and independent wanderers found themselves barred by invisible fences. Delve a bit deeper, and the treaty's origins reveal a mosaic of haste and hidden motives. Just 12 years after Admiral Byrd's fleet limped back from Operation Highjump, battered by unexplained encounters, the world powers rushed to seal the South. Byrd's cryptic warnings of enemies that fly pole to pole lingered in classified briefs, perhaps spurring the urgency. The Soviet Union, fresh from Sputnik's triumph, pushed for inclusion, while the United States, Argentina, and Chile jostled over territorial claims that the treaty neatly suspended, not resolved. 54 signatories now uphold it, but the core 12 hold veto power in secret meetings, deliberations shielded from public eyes. Environmental safeguards emerged later, in protocols tacked on during the 80s and 90s, but the original text, whispers of control inspections allowed, yet often orchestrated, with designated observers steering what gets seen. Why embed such opacity in a pact for openness? Perhaps because the ice concealed prizes too tempting. Vast mineral deposits, oil reserves rivaling the Middle East, and geothermal pockets ripe for exploitation, all locked away under the guise of preservation. As you trace the treaty's evolution, its tentacles extend into global power plays, a subtle instrument for maintaining hierarchies. The Madrid Protocol of 1991 banned mining for 50 years, a noble gesture, but whispers suggest it's a stall tactic buying time for elite extractions under research banners. Corporations like those tied to shadowy financial networks circle the edges, funding stations that double as listening posts. Think of the no-fly zones blanketing Queen Maud Land, where Neuschwabenland once flew the swastika. Aircraft rerouted, drones grounded, all to protect sensitive wildlife. But satellite glitches over these areas tell another tale: data blackouts, magnetic distortions that scramble feeds, as if deliberate jamming shields activities below. In closed sessions, the Antarctic Treaty consultative meetings debate classifications, reclassifying zones without fanfare, their minutes redacted. This isn't bureaucracy, it's ballet, a dance of deception where nations that war elsewhere unite to guard a shared secret. Probe further, and the treaty's secrecy morphs into a canvas for grander conspiracies. Why bar nuclear activities when the continent's isolation begs for testing? Operation Argus in 1958 detonated warheads high above the South Atlantic, officially to study radiation belts, but theorists link it to sealing subglacial entrances, blasts aimed at anomalies detected in early surveys. The treaty followed swiftly, perhaps to prevent repeats or probes into what those explosions unearthed. Illuminati echoes resonate here, symbols of eyes and spirals in ancient maps suppressed under the pact's influence, knowledge hoarded by orders tracing back to Vatican vaults. Global control seeps in resources like rare earths critical for tech, locked to manipulate markets, or freshwater icebergs eyed for towing amid droughts. But darker threads weave through: bioweapons labs disguised as biology stations, where extremophiles yield pandemic potentials, or quantum experiments harnessing the pole's magnetic uniqueness, far from prying regulations. The human element infuses this veil with poignant tension. Researchers rotate through bases like McMurdo or Amundsen-Scott, bound by non-disclosure agreements that muzzle anomalies, strange pulses, unexplained structures glimpsed in radar. Whistleblowers vanish into obscurity, their stories dismissed as cabin fever. Consider the Madrid Protocol's review clause. Every 50 years, mining bans could lift, a ticking clock that in 2041 might unleash a scramble, elites positioned to claim stakes. Yet, the treaty's Peaceful Purposes clause rings hollow against reports of militarized icebreakers, patrolling edges, or private yachts turned away from protected bays. This control extends digitally. Google Earth blurs coordinates, algorithms burying search results on forbidden zones, a subtle censorship enforcing the narrative of pristine wilderness. Unraveling further, the treaty intersects with cosmic curiosities. No-fly restrictions over the South Pole hole, a massive atmospheric anomaly fuel hollow Earth speculations, where inner worlds beckon through polar openings. The packed scientific mandate masks astrophysical arrays like IceCube, detecting neutrinos that bend rules, perhaps signals from below rather than beyond. Global powers collaborate here, sharing data silos that elsewhere spark rivalries, suggesting a unified front against a common unknown. Environmental protocols, while curbing pollution, also limit deep drilling. Vostok's penetration halted amid contamination fears, but perhaps to avoid awakening dormant forces. As ice melts, exposing riverbeds and canyons, the treaty adapts, expanding protected areas to encompass emerging ruins or artifacts, control masquerading as conservation. This veil's texture thickens with economic undercurrents. Antarctica's seabed claims, suspended yet simmering, hold trillions in resources, diamonds, platinum, hydrocarbons guarded by the Pact's moratorium. Nations like Norway and Australia maintain claims frozen in time, ready for thaw. Private entities, from mining conglomerates to biotech firms, lobby subtly, funding research that maps veins for future harvests. The treaty's secretariats in Buenos Aires operate with minimal transparency, budgets opaque, decisions binding without debate. This isn't governance, it's guardianship, a cabal ensuring the continent's bounty serves the few. Yet, amid the secrecy, glimmers of resistance emerge. Independent scientists push boundaries, satellite hobbyists decode blurred images, revealing grid patterns or thermal vents that hint at artificial warmth. The treaty's annual meetings, attended by delegates in suits amid snowy backdrops, become stages for subtle power plays, Russia advocating more access, the US emphasizing security. As climate shifts erode the ice, the Pact faces strain. Rising seas from Thwaites' melt threaten global coasts, yet restrictions hinder comprehensive study. Is this intentional? A controlled revelation where secrets surface at a pace elites dictate? The Antarctic Treaty's essence lies in its duality, a shield for peace or a sword of suppression. It unites foes in silence, guarding a land where mysteries outnumber inhabitants. As no-fly zones expand and committees convene in shadow, one ponders the cost of such control, what truths languish beneath, denied to humanity. The Pact endures, a testament to collective caution, but cracks appear with each carving iceberg, inviting the world to peer through the fraying edges. What if lifting the veil reveals not just resources, but reckonings, proof of manipulations that redefine our place in the cosmos? The treaty whispers its own enigma, a global compact where secrecy reigns supreme. As you muse on these hidden agendas tonight, perhaps from a snowy evening in Oslo or a warm night in Cairo, share your city and the hour in the comments below. It's fascinating to see where these Antarctic secrets spark wonder. If these mysteries tug at your curiosity as they do mine, consider subscribing to keep exploring with us, and tap that notification bell for a gentle nudge when new tales emerge from the ice. Good night. As the first cracks spiderweb across the vast expanse of the Thwaites Glacier, a low rumble echoes through the ice, not from an earthquake, but from the relentless intrusion of warmer ocean waters gnawing at its underbelly. This isn't a distant forecast. It's unfolding now, with the glacier often called the Doomsday Glacier shedding mass at rates that outpace even the most dire predictions. Picture the scene: massive chunks carving into the Amundsen Sea, each one larger than a city block, sending shockwaves that ripple across global coastlines. Antarctica loses 136 billion tons of ice each year, a figure that masks the intimate drama beneath subglacial rivers surging like awakened veins, carrying meltwater laced with ancient sediments into the open ocean. But what if this thaw isn't just a climatic inevitability? What if it unveils threats we've long ignored, emerging from the freeze like specters from a forgotten grave, blending natural peril with hints of something orchestrated? Consider the immediate peril: sea levels creeping upward, inch by insidious inch. The West Antarctic ice sheet, if fully unleashed, could add over 3 meters to global oceans, submerging low-lying islands and flooding metropolises from Miami to Mumbai. Yet, the dark side whispers of subtler dangers, ancient pathogens stirring in the melt. Permafrost samples from Siberian analogues have already released viable viruses dormant for 30,000 years, capable of infecting modern cells. In Antarctica's subglacial lakes, isolated for millions of years, similar microbial time bombs lurk. As canyons channel warmer flows, these lakes burp forth their contents: bacteria with unknown virulence, potentially hitching rides on migratory birds or research vessels. Imagine a flu strain evolved in isolation, immune to our vaccines, slipping into the world via a scientist's boot or a penguin's feather. The thaw doesn't just raise waters, it resurrects the past, turning climate change into a biological roulette. This emerging chaos extends to invasive species, silent colonizers exploiting the warming frontier. Bluegrass patches sprout on the Antarctic peninsula, seeds carried by winds or unwitting visitors, outcompeting native mosses that have clung to life for eons. Mushroom flies infest sewage systems at research stations, persisting for decades despite eradication efforts, their larvae thriving in the moist warmth of human habitats. Gentoo penguins, favoring milder climes, march southward, displacing Adelie colonies and reshaping food webs. These intruders aren't benign. They disrupt delicate balances, where a single fly could vector diseases to isolated krill populations, cascading through the marine chain to whales and seals. Warming at 3 degrees Celsius over 50 years, faster than global averages, turning the peninsula into a testing ground for ecological upheaval. Could engineered microbes be among them? Remnants of covert tests hidden under the treaty's veil, now escaping control. The dark side deepens with revelations buried in the ice, threats that blend wonder with warning. As glaciers retreat, they expose riverbeds etched with grids too regular for nature, perhaps canals from a temperate era when Antarctica bloomed with forests. Fossils of dinosaurs and ferns mingle with metallic shards that resist corrosion, isotopes suggesting extraterrestrial origins or ancient alloys. What if the melt is no accident but a calculated release? Geoengineering whispers circulate cloud seeding or atmospheric manipulations dimming the sun to slow the thaw, but paradoxically accelerating it in targeted zones to access buried resources. Thwaites cavities, kilometers deep, allow probes that reveal thermal vents pulsing with unnatural rhythm, as if powered by submerged reactors. These could be natural geothermal quirks, or echoes of forbidden experiments, energy sources tapped by hidden bases to sustain operations far from scrutiny. Ponder the psychological toll, a subtler threat emerging from the change. Isolation has always defined Antarctic research, but as ice shelves collapse, Larsen B shattering in weeks, stations face evacuation risks, stranding teams amid crumbling landscapes. Mental strains amplify, hallucinations of ghost forests in the mist, or whispers from subglacial flows that sound like voices. Invasive species add unease, springtails overrunning hydroponic gardens, forcing closures and stirring paranoia about contamination. What if these incursions mask deeper manipulations, bioweapons disguised as nature's revenge? The dark side here is existential. Climate change not just altering the physical world, but eroding our sense of security, turning a once stable continent into a harbinger of unpredictability. This transformation invites speculation on engineered agendas. Why do melt rates spike in restricted zones, where satellite data blacks out? Perhaps to unearth Atlantean relics or alien tech, controlled by elites who profit from the chaos rising seas displacing populations. creating markets for flood defenses or relocated cities. Thwaites' penetration by ocean waters, detailed in sonar maps, shows cavities forming like deliberate excavations, warm intrusions hollowing the ice from within. These could release methane pockets, accelerating warming in a feedback loop that feels too orchestrated. Ancient viruses, if weaponized, might serve population control, a dystopian twist where climate's dark side becomes a tool for global reshaping. Yet, amid the threats, pockets of beauty emerge. Newly exposed seafloors bloom with anemones and sponges, ecosystems adapting in real time, their colors vivid against the blue. Icefish with transparent blood patrol the depths, survivors of eons, now facing invaders that could tip the balance. The melt uncovers pollen from lost paradises, hinting at cycles where Antarctica greens again by 2100, grasslands replacing glaciers. But this promise carries peril. Invasive grasses could smother native lichens, erasing biodiversity honed over ages. What ancient secrets might surface with them? Pyramid alignments or crystalline structures harnessing ley lines, technologies that could solve energy crises or unleash cataclysms. The dark side culminates in a cascade of unknowns. Sea level surges displacing millions, viruses rewriting pandemics, ecosystems collapsing under alien pressures. As canyons channel the thaw, they amplify these threats, warmer waters dissolving the continent's armor. Yet, curiosity lingers. What if this is a rebirth? The ice yielding not just dangers, but keys to survival. Engineered or natural, the melt forces confrontation, with our role in the change and the shadows it casts. Antarctica's transformation isn't passive. It's a narrative unfolding, where each carved berg reveals a chapter of peril and possibility. What threats await in the next fracture, and what wonders might they conceal? The dark side beckons, a mirror to our own impacts, urging us to watch as the ice whispers its warnings. Deep beneath the shimmering auroras that dance like ethereal veils over the Southern Ocean, a Japanese whaling vessel cuts through the swells one stormy night in early 2025. The crew, hardened by years of isolation, spots something immense breaching the waves, not a whale, but a pale humanoid form, its elongated limbs slicing the water with unnatural grace. They call it Ningen, a name whispered in folklore since the early 2000s. But this sighting feels different, captured on shaky phone footage that spreads like wildfire across online forums. The creature's skin gleams white against the dark sea, its face a slit-mouthed mask with eyes that seem to pierce the fog, vanishing as quickly as it appeared. Was it a trick of the light? A mutated leviathan born from warming waters, or a guardian from depths we've only begun to probe? Reports like this have surged recently, with divers near the Antarctic peninsula describing similar entities shadowing their submersibles, their movements too intelligent for mere animals. These aren't isolated tales. They echo a pattern, beings that straddle the line between myth and marine anomaly, stirring questions about what truly inhabits the continent's fringes. Shift your focus to the ice fields themselves, where another enigma stalks the horizon. The Striders, colossal figures reported by remote sensing teams as shadowy silhouettes striding across vast snow plains. Picture a patrol drone hovering over the Ellsworth Mountains, its camera capturing elongated forms, legs like stilts propelling bodies hundreds of feet tall through blizzards that would bury lesser creatures. These aren't the spindly sea spiders scuttling in subglacial caves, though those too evoke unease with their plate-sized bodies and probing limbs. No, Striders emerge from crevasses, their strides measured and purposeful, leaving tracks that vanish under fresh powder. A research log from a British Antarctic survey outpost describes one such encounter. A team spotting a greyish entity, humanoid yet distorted, navigating ice ridges with ease, its form blending into the monochrome landscape. Some speculate they're optical illusions from fatigue or mirages bent by polar light, but thermal scans show heat signatures too consistent for phantoms, warm cores moving against the wind, perhaps adapted survivors from ancient thaws or bioengineered watchers patrolling forbidden zones. What draws them to the surface now, as glaciers carve and expose hidden valleys? Whispers in expedition journals hint at territorial behavior, entities emerging near drill sites, as if disturbed by our intrusions into their domain. This leads us inward, to the labyrinthine theories of inner Earth entities, beings said to dwell in vast hollows beneath the crust, accessing Antarctica through polar portals veiled by perpetual storms. Envision a crevasse splitting open near the South Pole, not to a void, but to a luminescent cavern, where luminous figures move with quiet authority. These aren't crude monsters. They're described in leaked accounts as tall, ethereal humanoids with skin like polished crystal, guardians of Agartha, a subterranean utopia echoing ancient myths from Tibetan Shambhala to Celtic underworlds. Admiral Byrd's alleged journal entries paint vivid scenes. A flight veering into a temperate oasis, greeted by beings who spoke of observing humanity from their inner sanctum, warning of surface follies like nuclear ambition. While skeptics dismiss it as fabrication, recent seismic data from the Wilkes Basin shows cavities pulsing with unexplained vibrations, as if echoing the hum of advanced societies below. Could these entities be the original inhabitants, retreated underground during the Younger Dryas cataclysm, their technology sustaining emerald realms amid the mantle's heat? The Ningen, in this light, might serve as sentinels for these inner worlds, aquatic emissaries patrolling oceanic gateways that connect surface seas to subterranean oceans. Folklore from Japanese whalers in the 1980s first named them, but sightings have evolved. Divers reporting pods of these beings circling underwater research pods, their slit eyes reflecting flashlight beams with an intelligence that chills the soul. One account from a 2025 submersible mission near the Ross Ice Shelf describes a Ningen approaching the craft, its webbed hands pressing against the glass, as if communicating through vibrations that rattled the hull. Are they hybrids, engineered by inner entities to monitor our encroachments, or remnants of an aquatic branch of humanity, evolved in isolation? Their pale forms, up to 30 meters long, blend whale-like bulk with humanoid grace, fueling debates on whether they're cryptids or clues to parallel evolutions hidden in the deep. Striders, too, bridge this narrative, perhaps terrestrial counterparts emerging from ice tunnels that lead to Agartha's fringes. Reports cluster around the Gamburtsev Mountains, subglacial peaks taller than the Alps, where radar reveals vast chambers potentially habitable. A Norwegian team's thermal imaging captured one strider traversing a ridge, its strides spanning meters, body elongated like a stretched shadow. Folklore ties them to grey striders, parasitic infections turning hosts into nightmarish wanderers, but in Antarctic context, they evoke guardians entities patrolling the borders between worlds. What if they're scouts, dispatched from inner civilizations to assess the surface thaw, their appearances spiking as ice melts and exposes entry points? Seismic sensors pick up rhythmic footfalls underground, syncing with surface sightings, as if these beings navigate a network of tunnels honeycombing the continent. Inner Earth entities amplify the mystery, their lore woven from Plato's hollow realms to modern channeled visions. In Agartha, cities gleam with crystal tech, inhabitants wielding energies that bend light and matter, observing us through veiled portals. Recent anomalies bolster this. Radio bursts from ice cube detectors, interpreted by some as communications from below, rhythmic codes, defying cosmic origins. Expeditions near Lake Vostok report ethereal lights under the ice, fleeting glimpses of figures in the drill's murky returns. These beings, tall and luminous, might be the old ones of Byrd's tales, advanced humans or extraterrestrials who retreated eons ago, their society a mirror to our own but untainted by surface strife. What knowledge do they guard cures for ailments, free energy, or warnings of cycles that doom civilizations? The interplay between these cryptids fascinates. Ningen as oceanic watchers, striders as land sentinels, both perhaps extensions of inner entities' influence. Sightings near carving events suggest agitation, as if the melt disrupts their domains. A 2025 report from a Chilean vessel describes a Ningen surfacing amid iceberg debris, its cry a haunting wail that echoed for miles. Striders, meanwhile, appear in blizzards, their forms dissolving into snow, leaving only elongated prints that fill quickly. Inner entities remain elusive, but magnetic anomalies over suspected portals spike during equinoxes, as if alignments open brief windows. This triad of beings invites endless speculation. Are they survivors of Atlantis, mutated by polar extremes, or interdimensional visitors using Antarctica as a hub? Their presence, if real, challenges biology. Ningen breathing in briny depths, striders enduring -80 degrees, inner folk thriving in mantle pressures. As the continent warms, sightings may multiply, the thaw blurring boundaries between myth and reality. What if these entities aren't threats, but teachers, emerging to guide us through our own cataclysm? The Antarctic enigma deepens, cryptids weaving a web of wonder that draws us ever closer to the unknown. As these tales linger in your thoughts, where are you listening from tonight? Maybe a cozy nook in New York, or a midnight moment in Tokyo. Share your place and time, and let's map where these mysterious beings spark curiosity around the world. The wind howled across the Ross ice shelf as the USS Mount Olympus plowed through the frozen barrier, leading a fleet that seemed forged for war rather than wonder. It was December 1946, and Admiral Richard Evelyn Byrd stood on the bridge, his gaze fixed on the horizon where ice met sky in an unbroken white expanse. This was Operation Highjump, the largest Antarctic expedition ever. Mounted 13 ships, including aircraft carriers and destroyers, carrying 4,700 men and dozens of planes and helicopters. Officially, it was a scientific push to map uncharted territories, test cold weather gear, and train naval forces in polar extremes. But as the Armada split into Eastern, Western, and Central groups, establishing Little America VOR as their base, whispers among the crew hinted at something more clandestine. Why assemble such might so soon after World War II's end, when resources were stretched thin? Byrd, a seasoned explorer with prior Antarctic triumphs, commanded from the air, his reconnaissance flights probing deeper than any before. Yet, by March 1947, the mission aborted weeks early, ships retreating with damaged hulls and lost aircraft, official reports citing brutal weather. But sealed logs and survivor accounts paint a different canvas, one of aerial skirmishes with unidentified craft, energy bursts, crippling engines, and a valley beyond the pole that defied the frozen reality. Rewind to Byrd's preparations, and the puzzle sharpens. The Admiral, decorated for his North Pole flights and earlier southern ventures, rallied this force amid post-war paranoia. Nazi Germany had fallen, but rumors swirled of escaped leaders and advanced tech spirited away. Just 8 years prior, the Third Reich's Schwabenland expedition had claimed Neuschwabenland, mapping vast tracts with seaplanes. Whispers of underground bases powered by geothermal vents persisted, fueled by U-boat sightings off Argentina. Was Highjump a covert strike to neutralize these remnants? Declassified memos suggest as much, countering potential Soviet incursions too, but the scale screamed overkill for mere reconnaissance. Pilots like those aboard the USS Philippine Sea radioed frantic reports, disc-shaped objects emerging from ice fissures, maneuvering at speeds defying gravity, unleashing beams that stalled props and fried radios. 3 men perished in a PBM Mariner crash, attributed to pilot error, but eyewitnesses spoke of pursuit by glowing orbs. Byrd's fleet, the mightiest in polar history, returned humbled, its maps incomplete, its losses shrouded. This veil of secrecy lifts slightly through Byrd's alleged diary, a document that surfaced in the decades following, dismissed by officials as forgery yet cherished in esoteric circles. Picture Byrd in his PBY Catalina, soaring over the endless white on February 19, 1947. Instruments falter, compass spinning wildly, altimeter fluctuating as a greenish haze envelops the plane. Suddenly, the ice gives way to a lush valley, lakes shimmering under a pale sun, mammoths grazing amid verdant hills. Advanced craft flank the aircraft, guiding it to a landing amid crystalline spires. There, beings tall and fair-haired greet him, their voices resonant in his mind, speaking of Agartha, an inner realm where humanity's elders retreated from surface cataclysms. They warn of atomic perils, urging peace, and reveal technologies harnessing Vril, a universal energy sustaining their utopia. Byrd departs awed, entrusted with a message for world leaders, but upon return, his accounts are buried, his Chilean press interview hinting only at incredible speeds over the poles. Such tales dovetail with the Hollow Earth hypothesis, a concept tracing to Edmund Halley's 17th century musings of concentric spheres, inhabited and illuminated by inner suns. By the 19th century, John Cleves Sims championed polar openings, vast holes at each end leading to verdant interiors. Byrd's diary, if authentic, provides tantalizing evidence. The valley as an entrance, the beings as Agartha's stewards. Proponents link this to ancient lore, Plato's underworld, Tibetan Shambhala, Celtic Sidhe mounds, all portals to hollow domains. Seismic waves traversing Earth's core show inconsistencies. Some argue, suggesting voids rather than solid iron. Antarctica's subglacial lakes, like Vostok with its magnetic dome anomaly, could mask these gateways, their waters conduits to inner oceans teeming with bioluminescent life. Revisit Highjump through this lens, and the mission transforms from failure to forbidden glimpse. Aircraft losses? Not weather, but defenses from inner guardians repelling intruders. The fleet's abrupt withdrawal? Orders from above, silencing discoveries that could shatter paradigms. Byrd's later life reclusive, speaking cryptically of polar threats, fuels speculation. His nephew's interviews recall the Admiral's obsession with lands beyond the pole, maps sketched in private showing concentric rings. In modern echoes, satellite anomalies over the South Pole, data blackouts, infrared spikes suggest hidden activity. Hollow Earth adherents point to these as inner sun radiations leaking through thinning veils or craft transiting polar holes. The theory's allure lies in its synthesis of anomalies: unexplained warmth in subglacial valleys, magnetic deviations at the poles, and seismic shadow zones where waves bend unnaturally. Sims envisioned multiple shells, each habitable, with openings thousands of miles wide camouflaged by mirage effects or atmospheric refraction. Byrd's flight, per the diary, pierced this illusion. Entering a realm where gravity inverts, skies curve upward. Critics decry it as pseudoscience, Earth's core proven molten by seismic data, but proponents counter with alternative models, plasma cores, or honeycomb structures. Antarctica's rapid melt adds urgency, retreating ice exposing canyons that could lead to these openings, seismic tremors as inner quakes resonating outward. Byrd's legacy intertwines with this enigma, his Highjump a pivot where history meets myth. The Admiral's post-mission silence, broken only in veiled interviews, suggests suppression perhaps to avert panic or protect alliances with inner beings. His diary's details flying saucers powered by harmonious energies, warnings of surface doom mirror UFO lore, linking Hollow Earth to extraterrestrial narratives. What if Agartha's inhabitants aren't subterranean natives, but refugees from stars, their tech sustaining hidden havens? Recent analyses of declassified photos show fleet formations circling anomalous ice formations, as if probing entrances. This revisited saga beckons with endless what-ifs. Did Highjump uncover a pathway to inner utopias, sealed to prevent exodus or invasion? Byrd's message, if real, urges harmony yet withheld. It leaves us in discord. As Antarctica thaws, seismic sensors hum with unexplained patterns, inviting speculation, inner migrations surfacing, or guardians emerging to guide us through crises. The operation's ghosts linger, a testament to horizons beyond maps, where the hollow calls and the unknown answers. What treasures or terrors await in those depths, and why was Byrd's truth entombed in ice? The expedition's echoes resound, a siren song drawing us toward polar mysteries that redefine our world. Highjump's aircraft, like the R-4D Skytrain, ventured into blizzards where compasses failed, pilots reporting lush valleys amid the whiteout mirages, or glimpses through rifts. The diary describes beings with Nordic features, tying to Thule society, myths of Aryan inner kin. Perhaps Nazi escapes to Neuschwabenland sought these allies, blending occult quests with survival. Byrd's return flight, instruments stabilizing only after exiting the valley, suggests electromagnetic fields guarding the threshold. In contemporary reflections, Hollow Earth persists in fringe models. Earth's crust as a shell, 30 to 60 miles thick, inner sun providing light, gravity pulling inward. Seismic P-waves paths, some argue, support voids. Antarctica's Vostok anomaly, a magnetic dome, could mark an entrance, its lake a barrier lake. Drill samples show unexplained gases, perhaps inner atmosphere leaks. As melt accelerates, canyons may expose these portals, seismic spikes, as doorways creaking open. Byrd's story, revisited, isn't relic, it's roadmap. His diary's publication sparked cults, believers mounting expeditions that vanish mysteriously. What if Highjump's true yield was contact, a pact silencing the admiral? His death in 1957, amid plans for further ventures, leaves loose ends. The operation's revisited legacy, a bridge to hollow wonders, where inner Earth beckons with promises of enlightenment or peril. As signals pulse from below, one wonders, is Agartha calling or cautioning us away? The expedition's shadow lengthens, inviting descent into realms where history hollows out and mystery fills the void. Rising abruptly from the Ellsworth Mountain's rugged spine, a peak defies the chaotic jumble of wind-sculpted rock around it, its four faces converging in sharp lines that evoke not nature's whimsy, but the deliberate hand of an architect long vanished. This isn't a fleeting optical trick captured in a grainy photo. It's a formation measured at over 4,000 feet, its symmetry so striking that satellite imagery from recent scans has reignited debates among geologists and enthusiasts alike. The structure, often dubbed the Antarctic Pyramid, sits in a region where the ice clings thinly, exposing granite edges that align with cardinal directions in ways too coincidental for random erosion. But pause here. What if this isn't a solitary sentinel? Radar sweeps penetrating the surrounding ice reveal companion anomalies, elongated forms stretching hundreds of meters, buried just beneath the surface, their outlines crisp against the softer contours of glacial debris. These aren't mere noon attacks, those rocky outcrops peeking through the freeze. They suggest something assembled, perhaps aligned to harness unseen forces, raising the eternal question, forged by human ambition or the indifferent grind of geological time. Venture closer in your mind's eye, tracing the pyramid's slopes where freeze-thaw cycles have carved facets that mimic the stepped precision of ancient ziggurats. Geologists attribute this to natural processes, wind abrasion honing the rock over eons, much like the Matterhorn's iconic horn in the Alps. Yet, the Ellsworth example stands apart, its base nearly square, sides sloping at angles that echo Egypt's Giza wonders. Recent analyses, drawing from high-resolution imagery, note alignments with solstices, where shadows cast patterns reminiscent of ley lines, those hypothetical energy grids crisscrossing the globe. Could this be coincidence, or a remnant of a civilization that viewed the continent not as wasteland, but as a canvas for cosmic architecture? Skeptics point to similar formations worldwide, wind-eroded peaks that fool the eye, but here the symmetry persists across multiple structures, a cluster emerging as the ice recedes, hinting at a complex rather than isolated oddities. Now, imagine the radar pings bouncing back from beneath the ice, unveiling shapes that stretch 400 meters long, elongated anomalies detected in the Wilkesland region, their forms too linear, too uniform for glacial scarring. These discoveries puzzle scientists, with some speculating they're massive ice formations or buried meteorite debris, but others whisper of artificial construct, perhaps tunnels or foundations from a pre-Ice Age era. The Wilkes crater itself, a gravitational hole spanning hundreds of kilometers, adds to the intrigue, a massive impact scar from ancient times, its rim potentially hiding symmetrical features that radar interprets as stepped terraces. Gravity anomalies pull instruments askew here, suggesting dense materials below, maybe metallic concentrations or engineered voids. What if these are not natural depressions but deliberate excavations, aligned with global pyramid networks from Giza to Bosnia, channeling energies we scarcely understand? This web of structures extends underwater, where sonar maps reveal pipe-like systems snaking through subglacial canyons, their patterns too regimented for random erosion. Divers and submersibles probing these depths report eerie symmetries, elongated forms that could be conduits or ruins, buried when seas rose during ancient thaws. The continent's history supports such possibilities. Once a lush Gondwanan land 90 million years ago, teeming with forests and rivers, before continental drift locked it in ice. Fossils unearthed near these sites mingle dinosaur bones with unexplained artifacts, smooth stones etched with spirals, perhaps tools from a seafaring people who navigated before the freeze. Theories posit Atlantean origins, Plato's lost empire not sunk in the Atlantic, but shifted southward by crustal upheavals, its pyramids serving as power stations harnessing telluric currents. Conspiracies swirl around these formations, suggesting suppression by institutions wary of pre-Christian revelations. The Vatican, with its vast archives, allegedly holds maps linking Antarctic structures to Egyptian and Mesopotamian designs, geometries encoding forbidden knowledge of energy manipulation. Ley lines converge at these sites, invisible grids that ancient builders tapped for levitation or healing technologies lost or hidden to maintain control. Recent radar from orbital platforms shows these pyramids aligning with global hotspots. Giza's plateau, Teotihuacan's avenues, all pointing to a unified architectural code. What if the Antarctic examples are the originals, prototypes from a warmer epoch, their symmetries preserved in ice, while copies scattered worldwide? The debate rages. Man-made or natural? Proponents of artificiality cite the odds four-faced peaks are rare, yet here multiple cluster, their bases oriented to magnetic north as it was millennia ago, before pole shifts. Erosion models fail to fully replicate such exactitude. Computer simulations show wind and freeze-thaw creating angles, but not the cardinal precision observed. Anomalies like the ziggurat-type outcrop in Queen Maud Land add fuel, its stepped profile too temple-like for coincidence. Magnetic readings spike around these, distorting compasses, as if residual fields linger from ancient activations. Skeptics counter with science. Nunataks shaped by katabatic winds, their facets a byproduct of crystalline rock fracturing along plains. But even they admit the clustering is odd, perhaps tectonic uplifts exposing similar geology. Beneath the ice, larger enigmas loom. 2-kilometer-wide structures detected in deep scans, their outlines evoking buried cities or observatories. These aren't pyramidal but domed or rectangular, heat signatures faint yet persistent, suggesting insulation or activity. Submarine explorations in adjacent canyons reveal underwater extensions, pyramid bases sloping into the abyss, perhaps part of a coastal complex drowned by rising seas. Theories link them to Mu or Lemuria, Pacific counterparts to Atlantis, their refugees carrying blueprints northward. The Piri Reis map's ice-free depiction supports this, its rivers matching these submerged channels. Vatican suppression theories gain traction. Ancient texts describing southern temples aligned with stars, knowledge deemed heretical, buried in archives. Jesuits, explorers of old, catalogued but concealed, fearing challenges to biblical timelines. Ley lines amplify the mystique, these structures as nodes in a global grid, channeling earth energies for propulsion or healing. Modern experiments with sound waves levitating stones echo this, suggesting lost tech revived in secret labs. As melt accelerates, these anomalies surface more, crevasses revealing polished facets, radar pings bouncing off symmetries that defy models. Are they beacons for starfarers, or monuments to a fallen age? The Ellsworth Pyramid's shadow lengthens at solstice, aligning with distant sites, a cosmic clock ticking toward revelation. Natural or crafted, they beckon with promise and peril what energies might awaken if probed too deeply. The continent's structures stand as sentinels, their origins a riddle wrapped in ice, inviting us to unravel the threads of time. What if they're not relics, but active, waiting for the right alignment to stir? Nestled in the shadowed crevices of the Antarctic Peninsula, where the ice groans under its own weight, a former Israeli space security chief once shattered the silence with claims that ripple through the corridors of the unknown. Chaim Eshed, a man steeped in decades of classified briefings, spoke of a galactic federation, an interstellar alliance of extraterrestrial civilizations that has forged pacts with earthly powers, including the United States government. According to his revelations, this federation maintains secretive operations, including underground bases on Mars, where American astronauts collaborate with alien representatives. But what if the Federation's reach extends even further south, to the frozen expanse of Antarctica? Eshed hinted at humanity not being ready for full disclosure, suggesting experiments and agreements that keep the public in the dark. Imagine, then, a network of subterranean facilities beneath the ice, not just Martian outposts, but Antarctic hubs, where cloning technologies and interstellar communications hum in perpetual secrecy, guarded by the very treaty that claims to preserve the continent for peace. This federation, as Eshed described, isn't a loose coalition, but a structured entity, waiting for humanity to mature before revealing itself fully. Their bases, he alleged, serve as hubs for joint experiments, places where extraterrestrial knowledge intersects with human ambition. In Antarctica, the continent's isolation makes it an ideal candidate for such endeavors. Seismic data from recent years shows unexplained vibrations beneath the Wilkes Basin, patterns that don't align with natural tectonic activity, but resemble the hum of advanced machinery. Could these be the echoes of Federation installations, where beings from distant stars oversee cloning programs? Channeled messages circulating in esoteric communities speak of Pleiadian entities involved in these operations, using Antarctic facilities to create hybrid forms clones, blending human and extraterrestrial DNA to prepare for some impending shift in global consciousness. These aren't idle speculations. They tie into sightings of unidentified craft emerging from ice fissures, their movements too precise for earthly tech, vanishing into subglacial voids, as if retreating to hidden enclaves. Esched's narrative builds on a foundation of interstellar diplomacy, where the Federation has signed contracts allowing experiments on Earth in exchange for technological advancements. Underground bases, he claimed, facilitate this, with Mars as a key site. But Antarctica's unique environment offers advantages. Mars lacks vast, unmonitored subglacial lakes like Vostok, where pressure and isolation mimic extraterrestrial conditions. What experiments unfold there? Perhaps genetic modifications to adapt humans for space travel, or reverse engineering of alien propulsion systems that harness zero-point energy. The continent's magnetic anomalies, distorting satellite feeds, could be deliberate shields, cloaking these sites from prying eyes. Think of the implications. If the Federation ties extend here, Antarctica isn't just a research outpost but a galactic crossroads, where envoys from multiple species convene, their agendas intertwined with human elites who trade secrets for power. Delving into these ties evokes a sense of cosmic intrigue, where the Federation acts as a benevolent overseer, preventing nuclear catastrophes while guiding evolution. Yet, darker undertones emerge, cloning facilities producing soulless replicas, used for labor or infiltration. In Antarctic contexts, these could explain cryptic reports from research stations, personnel experiencing missing time during blizzards, awakening with vague memories of luminous beings and sterile chambers. One unverified account from a McMurdo technician describes stumbling upon a cavern during a routine survey, its walls lined with translucent pods pulsing with light, figures inside resembling human-alien hybrids. Dismissed as hallucination, it aligns with Esched's Federation framework, where such bases clone entities to interact with surface dwellers without risking originals. The Federation's presence might explain Antarctica's treaty-enforced secrecy, a veil not just for earthly powers but for interstellar accords. If Esched is correct, the United States and other nations host these visitors, their Antarctic footholds serving as neutral ground away from populated areas, shielded by ice. Geothermal vents provide endless energy, sustaining habitats where extraterrestrials acclimate to Earth's gravity. Seismic sensors occasionally capture rhythmic pulses, interpreted as communications beams linking to off-world networks. What messages flow through? Guidance on climate mitigation or warnings of impending cosmic events? The Federation, per these claims, awaits humanity's readiness, but Antarctic bases accelerate the timeline through hybrid programs, blending genomes to create ambassadors bridging worlds. This extraterrestrial web extends to historical encounters, like those during Operation Highjump, where Byrd's fleet allegedly clashed with Federation craft defending their territories. The Admiral's diary hints at meetings with advanced beings, perhaps Federation representatives issuing ultimatums against intrusion. In modern terms, these ties could involve resource exchanges, rare Antarctic minerals for tech upgrades, or biological samples for genetic libraries. The continent's subglacial ecosystems, with their alien-like microbes, might be Federation experiments, seeding life forms adapted to extreme environments for colonization elsewhere. As the ice melts, these bases face exposure, perhaps intentionally, Federation orchestration to force disclosure. Anomalous heat signatures over restricted zones suggest active ventilation, drawing warmer air to accelerate thaw in targeted areas. What emerges? Ruins blending human and alien architecture, or live installations where hybrids walk among us? Escht warned of a galactic council deciding our fate, with Antarctica as a pivotal node. If ties exist, they redefine global control, elites as intermediaries in a cosmic game. The curiosity builds. Are these bases benevolent academies or prisons for failed experiments? Federation clones might infiltrate societies, shaping policies from shadows. Antarctic sightings of Ningen could be aquatic hybrids, testing adaptations in southern seas. Striders, those colossal walkers, perhaps terrestrial variants patrolling perimeters. Esched's revelations, while controversial, ignite imagination, a federation safeguarding Earth from itself. Their Antarctic ties a bridge to stars. But skepticism lingers. Psychological ops to distract from earthly issues, or genuine leaks piercing the veil. As signals pulse from ice depths, one wonders, is contact imminent, or has it been ongoing, hidden in frozen fortresses? The ties tantalize, promising enlightenment or enslavement. Antarctica, the stage where cosmic dramas unfold. Federation lore speaks of multiple species, Pleiadians, Arcturians, collaborating from bases like those beneath Mount Vinson, where geomagnetic fields amplify telepathic links. Cloning tech, per claims, produces soulless vessels for walk-ins, spirits inhabiting bodies for missions. In Antarctica, isolation perfects this. Hybrids trained in sub-zero simulations mimicking alien worlds. What agendas drive them? Preventing self-destruction or harvesting genetic diversity? Bases might store arcs of DNA, preserving life amid cycles of extinction. As melt reveals anomalies, metallic orbs in glacial debris, the Federation's hand seems evident, guiding the Thor to align with cosmic timelines. These ties evoke awe and apprehension, extraterrestrial mentors or manipulators. Antarctica's role as hub suggests long-term investment, bases operational since ancient pacts with civilizations like Atlantis. Esched's underground Mars base mirrors Antarctic counterparts, interconnected via portals defying distance. The narrative unfolds, Federation oversight from icebound enclaves, cloning to infiltrate, ties binding humanity to stars. What revelations await as barriers crumble? The continent holds its breath, its secrets stirring in the deep, inviting us to question our solitary place in the universe. In the biting chill of a 1912 blizzard, Captain Robert Falcon Scott scrawled his final words in a weathered journal, his hand trembling as the ink froze on the page. "For God's sake, look after our people," he wrote, before the Antarctic silence claimed him and his 4 companions on their return from the South Pole. They lay just 11 miles from a supply depot, their bodies discovered months later, preserved in ice like tragic relics. Scott's expedition had raced Amundsen to the pole, only to find defeat and death waiting on the journey back. Starvation, scurvy, and frostbite weaving a merciless end. But whispers persist in the annals of exploration. Were their maps altered, their warnings about treacherous routes suppressed by British authorities to preserve national pride? Scott's letters home, laden with despair, were edited before publication, painting a heroic gloss over the raw agony, leaving us to wonder what fuller truths died with them in that tent. Fast forward to the Endurance's fateful entrapment in 1914, where Ernest Shackleton's ship groaned under the Weddell Sea's grip, its hull splintering like brittle bone. The 28 men survived the vessel's sinking, enduring months on drifting floes before a daring boat journey to safety. Yet, amid the triumph, suppressed accounts from crew diaries hint at vanishings during the chaos, men slipping into leads of open water during night watches, their cries swallowed by the wind. Official narratives celebrated the rescue, but private logs, locked away in family archives, speak of ghostly figures on the ice, luring the weary astray. Was it delirium from exhaustion, or something more sinister, entities drawn by the desperation? Shackleton himself confided in later years of presences watching their ordeal, details omitted from his best-selling memoir to avoid ridicule. These stories, buried to uphold the legend of endurance, leave a haunting gap. What unseen costs did the survivors truly pay? The veil thickens with the 1947 saga of Operation Highjump, where Admiral Byrd's armada faced not just the elements, but anomalies that official reports scrubbed clean. Pilots returning from reconnaissance flights spoke in hushed tones of disc-shaped craft emerging from ice caverns, unleashing energy bursts that downed planes and scarred hulls. 3 men perished in a crash, blamed on mechanical failure, but declassified whispers reveal pursuits over forbidden skies, with survivors sworn to silence. Byrd's own diary, if authentic, recounts a vanished flight into a lush inner valley, meetings with advanced beings suppressed by military censors to prevent panic. Crew members like those on the USS Pine Island vanished during patrols, officially lost to storms, but logs hint at pursuits into crevasses that led nowhere. These stories, redacted from public records, fuel speculation. Were they casualties of a cover-up, their fates sealed to protect discoveries of extraterrestrial ties or Nazi holdouts? Consider the eerie case of Rodney Marks in 2000, an Australian astrophysicist at the Amundsen Scott South Pole Station, whose sudden death from methanol poisoning remains unsolved. Marks collapsed after a routine day, his body revealing traces of a toxin not stocked at the base. Investigations stalled amid jurisdictional tangles, the treaty's patchwork of laws creating a legal limbo where inquiries fade. Suppressed autopsy details suggest foul play, perhaps tied to his work on sensitive telescopes, scanning for cosmic signals. Colleagues whispered of arguments over data, anomalies unexplained, pulses from the ice that he pursued relentlessly. Was it suicide, accident, or silencing? The National Science Foundation's tight-lipped response buried the story, leaving his family grasping at shadows, a human cost paid in the name of scientific sanctity. These vanishings extend to lesser-known souls, like the 1982 disappearance of Karl Maria Herrlichhofer, a German mountaineer attempting a solo traverse. Herrlichhofer vanished near the Transantarctic mountains, his tent found intact, supplies untouched, as if he stepped out for a moment and never returned. Search parties uncovered no tracks, no body, only a journal entry musing on lights beneath the snow that beckoned him onward. Suppressed by expedition sponsors wary of sensationalism, his story circulated in underground circles, linking to similar fates. Argentine soldiers in 1985 patrolling claimed sectors, swallowed by sudden crevasses that closed like traps. Official logs blamed avalanches, but eyewitnesses spoke of eerie hums preceding the ground's betrayal, details excised to maintain morale. The pattern persists into recent times, with the 2016 death of Henry Worsley, a British explorer attempting an unaided crossing in Shackleton's footsteps. Worsley succumbed to peritonitis after evacuation, but his final transmissions hinted at disorientation from mirage cities on the horizon, visions suppressed in obituaries to honor his legacy. Similarly, Renee Crane, an American researcher in 2019, vanished during a routine field trip near McMurdo, her snowmobile found idling, no signs of struggle. The investigation cited a crevasse fall, but colleagues murmured of her probing restricted zones, chasing magnetic anomalies that defied explanation. Her notes, confiscated under treaty protocols, allegedly detailed structured lights underground, a story buried to avoid scrutiny. These suppressed narratives weave a tapestry of loss, where explorers become footnotes in a larger enigma. In 1922, during Shackleton's final quest, a crewman named Hubert Hudson vanished briefly during a storm, returning dazed with tales of inner warmth that officials dismissed as hypothermia delusions. His full account, locked in archives, speaks of a cavern refuge with glowing walls suppressed to prevent wild speculation. The human cost mounts, madness claiming early explorers like Hjalmar Johansson, who spiraled into despair after polar feats. His suicide, a silent testament to the toll. Antarctic stations report higher rates of psychological breaks, winter over syndrome masking deeper traumas, visions of vanished comrades haunting the halls. What binds these stories is the suppression, a deliberate dimming of lights on the inexplicable. Governments cite national security or scientific integrity, but the pattern suggests fear of truths that could unravel established histories. Vanished explorers like those in the Belgica expedition of 1897, where crew descended into paranoia, their logs edited to excise mentions of ice spirits luring men overboard, or the Soviet teams of the 1950s, drilling into Vostok only to abandon sites amid unexplained losses, workers vanishing into boreholes, reports sealed under Cold War secrecy. Are these vanishings mere tragedies of the extreme, or portals to suppressed realms? Byrd's men, lost in Highjump's fog, perhaps crossed thresholds into inner worlds, their stories quashed to preserve the facade. As melt exposes more, vanished paths may resurface, tracks leading to nowhere, journals unearthed with final pleas. The human cost isn't just lives, it's the erasure of their truths, leaving us to piece together fragments in the cold. What suppressed whispers await in the next uncovered crevasse, and who benefits from the silence? The Antarctic graves hold their secrets close, each vanished soul a thread in a tapestry of mystery that begs to be unraveled. As the last vestiges of sunlight fade over the jagged horizon of the Amundsen Sea, a colossal crack echoes through the silence, heralding the carving of another iceberg the size of a small nation. This isn't a scene from a distant apocalypse. It's the accelerating reality of Antarctica's thaw, where the West Antarctic ice sheet hemorrhages mass at rates that scientists now describe as abrupt and irreversible. Imagine standing on the edge of the Thwaites Glacier, feeling the ground tremble as warmer ocean currents tunnel beneath, hollowing out cavities that could collapse the entire structure within decades. Recent studies confirm these shifts. Sea ice coverage plummeted to its third lowest in nearly 50 years of records by mid-2025, with daily extents shattering previous lows. The ice sheet's rapid decline isn't just melting, it's reshaping the planet's circulatory system, slowing deep ocean currents that once buffered the continent from even greater warmth. But what revelations lurk in this unfolding drama? As the ice retreats, exposing bedrock unseen for millennia, will we uncover mere geological curiosities, or gateways to truths that challenge our very understanding of history and existence? Envision a future where the Antarctic Peninsula, warming thrice the global average, transforms into a patchwork of exposed valleys and surging rivers by 2050. Projections whisper of sea levels rising by meters, not centimeters, submerging coastal realms and displacing billions. Yet, the dark allure lies in what emerges from the melt. Ancient riverbeds carving through the landscape, their courses aligning with enigmatic grids that radar has only begun to map. These aren't random etchings. They suggest deliberate designs, perhaps irrigation systems from a temperate era when Antarctica teemed with forests and fauna. Fossils already surface petrified trees mingling with pollen from species extinct elsewhere, hinting at a lush cradle that birthed civilizations we dare not imagine. What if the thaw reveals stepped pyramids, not just the Ellsworth anomalies, but entire complexes oriented to long-forgotten stars, their chambers housing crystals that hum with latent energy? Theories posit these as Atlantean outposts, powered by geomagnetic forces, now stirring as the ice's insulating blanket thins. This revelation could extend to biological enigmas, where subglacial lakes like Vostok burp forth microbes with genomes that border on the extraterrestrial. As warming penetrates deeper, these isolated ecosystems spill into the open, releasing viruses dormant for eons, pathogens evolved in pressure cooker conditions, potentially leaping to human hosts with devastating efficiency. Picture a research team in 2040, drilling into a newly exposed lake, only to unleash a strain that defies antibiotics. A microbial Pandora's box blending ancient resilience with modern vulnerability. But curiosity tugs. What if these organisms hold cures, enzymes that break down plastics or harness infinite energy, gifts from a forgotten biosphere? The melt's dark side amplifies here, population crashes in krill and penguins, food webs unraveling as invasive species from warmer climes, hitch rides on research vessels, outcompeting natives in a Darwinian frenzy. Yet, weave in the threads of conspiracy, and the future darkens with orchestrated shadows. Whispers circulate of geoengineering experiments dimming the sun to halt the melt, aerosols sprayed from high-altitude planes creating artificial clouds that reflect solar rays. But what if these efforts mask a deliberate acceleration in select zones? Elites, some speculate, manipulate the thaw to access buried vaults, Nazi-era bases like 211, now humming with revived tech, or Federation outposts where hybrids await activation. As ice sheets weaken, absorbing more warmth and hastening their own demise, seismic tremors spike in patterns too rhythmic for nature, perhaps signals from these hidden enclaves preparing for emergence. The continent's tipping points, newly identified, involve not just melt but cascading effects. Slower ocean circulation, trapping heat, fueling further loss in a vicious spiral. Could this be engineered? a controlled revelation to force global shifts, displacing populations while unveiling resources like rare minerals or infinite geothermal power. Ponder the revelations in a greener Antarctica by 2100, grasslands sprouting where glaciers once dominated, short growing seasons yielding barley and potatoes, small colonies dotting the coasts. But this verdant rebirth carries omens: invasive bluegrass smothering endemic mosses, mushroom flies vectoring unknown diseases, gentoo penguins colonizing southward and disrupting ancient balances. Emerging threats multiply: ancient methane pockets bursting forth, supercharging warming, or radiological anomalies from suppressed nuclear tests in the 50s surfacing as contaminated flows. What if the melt exposes extraterrestrial artifacts, crashed craft preserved in ice, their non-human biologics rewriting origins? Theories link these to Federation ties, bases cloning hybrids for integration, the Thor a signal for their unveiling. The human tapestry in this future unravels with poignant irony. Explorers vanishing into newly opened crevasses, their stories suppressed as before, but now amid a scramble for claims. As sea ice hits record lows, shipping lanes open, inviting corporate fleets to harvest the exposed seabed trillions in minerals. But at what cost? Conflicts brew over suspended territorial claims, the treaty straining under economic pressures. Revelations could spark enlightenment, lost civilizations, tech solving energy woes, or microbial miracles curing diseases. Yet, the dark side looms: catastrophic consequences for generations. Abrupt shifts, decimating species, weakening ice shelves collapsing in chains. Northern winds, now identified as accelerators, drive heat southward, a climatic conveyor belt hastening the end. In this evolving saga, will the melt reveal Agartha's portals, inner entities emerging to guide or conquer, or Federation bases activating, hybrids stepping into light? Suppressed stories resurface, vanished explorers' journals unearthed, detailing lush shadows amid the white. As tools for study falter, satellites aging without replacements, our window narrows, leaving revelations to chance. Cherry-picked data fuels denial, but the ice's retreat tells its own truth, absorbing warmth and reflecting less, a feedback loop toward tipping points. The future beckons with dual blades, chaos in rising seas, enlightenment in unearthed secrets. What if the melt is a cosmic timer, aligned with galactic cycles, Federation waiting for our maturation? Revelations await ruins whispering ancient tongues, cryptids roaming freer, threats materializing in viral forms. Antarctica's thaw isn't end, it's evolution, dark side laced with promise, inviting us to witness what happens when the ice finally yields. The continent stirs, its future revelations a canvas of wonder and warning, where humanity's fate hangs in the melting balance. As the cracks widen, what shadows will step forth, and what lights will they bring? The ice whispers its secrets, a prelude to disclosures that could redefine everything. In the quiet hours before dawn, let these visions drift you towards slumber, where the melt's mysteries unfold in dreams. Good night.